Are you humans or monsters? Fong Chen wanted to get up and run on the spot. No other reason. After number one changed shape, he looked more like a monster than any monster Fong Chen had ever imagined. That kind of pressure, the kind that comes from something higher on the food chain, was enough to crush ordinary people. For someone as weak and broken as Fong Chen, it was almost unbearable. A cold thought stabbed into his mind. Oh no, am I going to be violated? His heart lurched. All those apocalypse novels he'd read flashed through his head. Whenever a powerful race invaded humanity, there were always humans who betrayed their own kind. Worshippers. Traitors who knelt to the invaders and helped them hunt their fellow humans. And what number one had just shown, it fit those stories a little too well. Across from him, Bai Ye's eyelid twitched. He didn't know what Fong Chen was imagining, but the fear in his eyes, the sudden hostility, the way his expression kept changing. Bai Ye understood one thing clearly. If he didn't explain right now, Fong Chen would paint him as a villain. Don't misunderstand, Fong Chen, Bai Ye said quickly. This is a special ability of our organization. He's not a monster. This reaction was exactly what Bai Ye feared most. Once that secret got out, ordinary people and even the authorities would instinctively label them as monsters. After that, their identities would become a problem no one could cleanly solve. Bai Ye's words didn't completely erase Fong Chen's doubt, but they slowed his panic. Seeing that, Bai Ye continued, steady and patient. Our organization has a special method. We can extract the essence of living things, even monsters. As long as you absorb that essence, you can gain and control abilities from other creatures, even monsters. But your core doesn't change. You're still human. As he spoke, Bai Ye motioned for number one to step closer, letting Fong Chen see him clearly up close. Fong Chen stared at number one, then looked back at Bai Ye. What he'd just witnessed still felt unreal. But after hearing the explanation, he decided to gamble. A gamble on Bai Ye's humanity. And a gamble on his own ability to judge right from wrong. When do we start? Fong Chen asked after a long silence. The moment Bai Ye heard the word we, he couldn't help smiling. Sorry, I kept you waiting. Fong Chen wasn't sure how much time had passed before Xiaoling finally returned, apologizing over and over. It's fine. Let's go back, Fong Chen said, slumped in his wheelchair as usual, face blank. Okay. I'll push you back now. Xiaoling hurried behind him and started pushing along the path they'd come. But the moment she got close, she frowned. Hey, why is your hair wet? And why do you smell like sweat? His hair was damp, and there was a strong, messy scent clinging to him. Xiaoling didn't understand. She had cleaned him thoroughly last night. Why did he smell like this? I was in the sun. I sweated, Fong Chen replied calmly. Huh? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Guilt hit her instantly, and she started apologizing again. Just take me back first, Fong Chen cut in, his tone firmer than usual. Oh, okay. Xiaoling finally stopped talking and pushed faster. Still, it was strange. Why is Fong Chen talking so much today? She realized it halfway back. Before today, he barely spoke. Sometimes he wouldn't say a single word for days. But she didn't dig into it. She told herself it was coincidence. Back in the room, Xiaoling moved with practiced care. She undressed him, wiped him down, washed his hair, then changed him into clean clothes. Huh? Are you hot? She paused. Fong Chen's face had turned red without her noticing when it happened. Yeah, a little. It'll pass, Fong Chen said, hesitating. Xiaoling stared at him for a second, confused, then turned the AC down to 22 degrees Celsius. A moment later, Fong Chen spoke again. You go to your work. I want to sleep. Oh, okay. Xiaoling didn't question it. She tucked him in and left the room. The door clicked shut. Huh. Only then did Fong Chen finally exhale. Before, when his entire body was numb and dead, none of this mattered. But now he had absorbed the essence Bai Ye gave him. His body had returned to normal. When Xiaoling's hands had touched him, wiping him down like she always did, he'd almost lost control. It had taken everything he had to stay still, to keep his breathing steady, to not let anything show. After a while, He calmed his nerves, sat up, and reached for the phone on the bedside table. His thumb hovered over a contact number. He stared at it. He wanted to press it. He couldn't. Time passed like that, quiet and heavy, until finally his finger dropped. He raised the phone to his ear. Beep, beep, beep. Hello, Dad. Inside the chairman's office of Fong Pharmaceutical Group, Fong Zhenhua froze when he heard that familiar voice. For a moment, his mind went blank. Then Fong Chen's voice came again, quieter this time, almost uncertain. Dad, can you hear me? Oh, yes, I can hear you. Fong Zhenhua snapped back to himself, answering too quickly. Dad, can you and Mom come to my place? Yes, Fong Zhenhua said without hesitation. Your mother and I will come right now. Just the two of you, Fong Chen added. Don't bring anyone else. Okay. Fong Zhenhua didn't understand why, but he didn't argue. He believed his son wouldn't hurt him. The call ended after only a few more words. Fong Zhenhua stared at the silent phone, emotions twisting together. Excitement and a pain he couldn't swallow. When Feng Chen was declared beyond treatment, Fong Zhenhua had brought him home. A nanny helped. Fong Chen's mother stayed close. But in those early days, Fong Chen's emotions had been violent. Sometimes he ignored everyone. Sometimes he erupted, smashing whatever he could. Because how could anyone accept it? A brilliant future erased overnight. A young genius reduced to a body that couldn't even stand. Later, Fong Chen asked to be moved into a sanatorium. He wouldn't let his parents visit. He wouldn't let them take care of him. Fong Zhenhua took a breath, steadied himself, and called his wife. Menghua, where are you? I'm at the cafe across from the company, having coffee. Come to the company parking lot right now. We're going to Xiaochen's place. Xiaochen? But Xiaochen called me himself. There was a sharp inhale on the other end. Then, I'm coming. Right now. In the cafe, a beautiful woman with gentle features didn't even finish listening to the background noise. She hung up, stood too fast, and rushed for the door. Seeing her panic, the waiter stepped forward. Ma'am, can I help you? Put it on my card. Tang Menghua said, already moving. And she was gone. Back at the sanatorium, Fong Chen stared at his phone screen and couldn't stop old memories from surfacing. When he first returned home, he couldn't accept the paralysis. He was unstable, angry, humiliating to be around. He had even screamed at his mother. His mother smiled and told him it was okay, but he saw the hurt behind her eyes. He saw it clearly. Then came the worst part. The loss of control. The accidents. The helplessness. Especially in front of his parents. The humiliation was suffocating. It made him want to die immediately. But he couldn't move anything except his head. Even suicide was something his body wouldn't allow. Later, crushed day after day by his own pride, Fong Chen finally broke. He couldn't take it anymore, so he asked to be moved into a nursing home. He didn't allow his parents to visit. He didn't allow them to care for him. He convinced himself he'd rather rot here alone than let anyone see him like that. His parents still came anyway, more than once. Every time, he refused to let them in. He made a scene until they had no choice but to leave. He stopped answering calls. Stopped replying to messages. Now, thinking back, Fong Chen wanted to slap himself. But even if time rewound, he knew he'd probably still choose the same path. Because shame doesn't listen to reason. An hour passed. Fong Chen was half asleep on the bed when hurried footsteps sounded outside his door. They rushed close, then stopped. No knock. No voices. Just a long, frozen pause. After what felt like forever, the door opened softly. Fong Zhenhua and Tang Menghua stepped in, quiet, as if they were afraid to wake a fragile dream. The footsteps approached the bed. For some reason, Fong Chen didn't dare open his eyes. He stayed still, pretending to sleep. The steps stopped right beside him. A familiar scent drifted down, his mother's perfume, warm and gentle, and it tightened something in his chest. Neither of them spoke. They simply stood there, looking at the sleeping Fong Chen with eyes full of things they couldn't say, not having the heart to wake him. Fong Chen's heart was a mess too. He was afraid to open his eyes. Afraid to face them. afraid of what he might see in their expressions. The room fell into silence. After a while, the mattress dipped slightly. Someone sat beside him. Then a hand, warm and careful, brushed his cheek. For the first time in a long time, Fangchen felt safe. Then, a drop of water landed on the back of his hand outside the quilt. He froze. Before he could even react, he heard a choked, suppressed sob. That was enough. Fangchen opened his eyes and whispered, "Mom." "Dad." The first thing he saw wasn't his mother crying. It was his father, hurriedly wiping tears off his face like he'd been caught doing something shameful. "Xiaochen," Fang Zhenhua's voice cracked. Tang Menghua stepped forward at once, pulled Fang Chen's attention toward her, and nudged Fang Zhenhua aside. "Move. If you want to cry, cry somewhere else." She shot Fang Zhenhua a fierce glare, then her expression softened in an instant as she sat on the edge of the bed. "Xiaochen, you're awake." She took his hand and held it gently, like she was afraid he'd disappear if she loosened her grip. Fangchen looked at her, emotions tangled, then turned to his father. "Mom." "Dad." "Son, how do you feel here?" Fang Zhenhua blurted, stepping closer. "Let's go home, okay?" "We'll go home." "Stay back." "Stop talking," Tang Menghua snapped without even turning her head. Then she looked down at Fangchen again, smiling like nothing had happened. "Don't listen to your dad. If you're bored here, how about Mom takes you on a trip? Mountains, sea, anywhere you want." During the months Fangchen refused to see them, they'd already guessed the truth. He wasn't angry at them. He was ashamed. So if he didn't want to go home, then she'd bring the world to him instead. As long as her son stayed beside her, that was enough. Fang Zhenhua opened his mouth. "Then what about?" "You stay at the company and make money," Tang Menghua said, as if it were obvious. Tang Menghua's gaze sharpened. Fang Zhenhua's lips moved twice. Then he shut up. Fangchen finally spoke, voice low. "Mom, let's talk about traveling later. I asked you and Dad to come today, for something else." Tang Menghua leaned in immediately. "What is it?" "Take me back," Fangchen said. "What?" Tang Menghua went still. Fang Zhenhua froze too, like his brain refused to process it. Then Fang Zhenhua snapped out of it first, excitement breaking through his shock. "Yes, of course. That's your home, you can go back anytime." Tang Menghua was already standing. "I'll get your discharge done right now." She turned to leave, but Fangchen hurriedly stopped her. "Wait, Mom. Do it after we get back." That single sentence changed the air in the room. Fang Zhenhua's face darkened a fraction. "Xiaochen," he said quietly, "tell Dad the truth. Is someone bullying you here? Or is there something wrong with this place?" His voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. The kind that made people nervous. Fang Zhenhua wasn't some gentle, harmless businessman. A man who could grow a company from millions to billions didn't get there by being soft. If someone had been tormenting his son, he wouldn't let it end with an apology. "No one bullied me," Fangchen said, shaking his head. "And the nursing home is fine. I'll explain everything when we get home." "Really?" Fang Zhenhua searched his face. "Don't be afraid. Even if Dad isn't all-powerful, I can still crush a small nursing home if I need to." "It's really fine," Fangchen insisted, helpless but firm. Tang Menghua exhaled, then nodded once. "All right. If everything's fine, we're leaving now." She rolled the wheelchair over, had Fang Zhenhua help move Fangchen into it, and went to pack his belongings. Not long after, the three of them headed straight to the parking lot. Fang Zhenhua was about to lift Fangchen into the car when Fangchen suddenly stopped him. "No need, Dad. I can do it myself." Before Fang Zhenhua could even respond, Fangchen stood up. He stepped forward and climbed into the car like it was the most normal thing in the world. For a second, Fang Zhenhua and Tang Menghua didn't move at all. They just stared, stunned, as if their eyes were lying to them. "Get in first," Fangchen said quickly. "I'll explain on the way. Don't make a scene here." Still in shock, they obeyed, got into the car and drove. On the way home, Fangchen gave them a simplified version of everything. He mentioned the Shanghai organization. He mentioned that they had a special medicine. He said that was how he was cured. He did not mention the deeper cause. He did not mention what it truly meant. When he finished, the car fell silent for a long time. Monsters. A hidden organization. A cure that shouldn't exist. It all hit their worldview like a hammer. Fong Zhenhua finally spoke, voice rough with thought. No wonder those big company CEOs have been surrounded by bodyguards lately, so that's why. He remembered it clearly now. In recent weeks, almost every billionaire and chairman he knew had increased security. He thought public safety was worsening. He never imagined they were guarding against something that wasn't even human. Tang Menghua frowned. Are those monsters really that strong? She didn't follow these things much, but she understood one fact: the country wasn't weak. So part of her didn't believe monsters could truly stand against it. Fong Chen's fingers tightened slightly. He remembered facing number one. That pressure. That instinctive fear, like a rabbit staring at a tiger. Even now, it made his scalp go cold. Even the weakest one, Fong Chen said slowly, can kill an ordinary person as easily as crushing an ant.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
So scary? But why have I never heard of it before? Tang Menghua exclaimed in surprise. In order not to cause panic, these news were blocked by the authorities. Fong Zhenhua roughly guessed the reason behind it. But Fong Zhenhua paused. Hearing what you said, I seem to have seen the monster you are talking about. What? Dad, have you seen him? Fong Chun and Tang Menghua were shocked when they heard Fong Zhenhua's words. Well, just yesterday, the warehouse manager called me and said that the precious medicinal materials stored in the warehouse were inexplicably reduced. I asked him if he had found out who stole it, but he hesitated and didn't say anything. Later, he sent me a video. As Fong Zhenhua spoke, he picked up his mobile phone and opened a video while waiting for the red light. In the video, a silver-white, unknown creature suddenly emerged from a seemingly normal warehouse. It is slightly larger than a cat and has silvery white spots all over its body. Then, the unknown creature used its claws to easily cut a big hole in the box storing the medicinal materials. Then he went in, and after a few seconds he came out again, chewing a herb in his mouth. Then, this unidentified creature suddenly disappeared just as it had come. If Fong Chen had not known about the existence of monsters, his first feeling after seeing the video would be that this video was definitely made with special effects. But now, Fong Chen took Fong Zhenhua's phone and started watching the video frame by frame. Soon he discovered something unusual at the moment the unidentified creature disappeared. In the video that was slowed down to the maximum speed, the unidentified creature jumped slightly, as if there was an invisible hole in the air, and jumped directly into it. Is this a space jump or invisibility? After Fong Chen looked at it over and over again several times, he still didn't understand how the unidentified creature disappeared. After being unable to figure it out, Fong Chen suddenly remembered that Bai Ye gave him a phone number before leaving. So Fong Chen quickly took out his mobile phone, added the green bubble with his phone number, and noted that he was Fong Chen. After a while, Fong Chen's friend request caught Bai Ye's attention. Fong Chen. Bai Ye looked at the notes and immediately accepted Fong Chen's friend request. Have you dealt with your personal affairs? After successfully adding a friend, Bai Ye asked first. I am on my way home, but I have something here that I would like you to take a look at. My lord? Bai Ye looked at this name, and the corners of his mouth twitched unconsciously. He knew without thinking that he learned this from number one. It seems that I can't escape this slightly childish nickname. In fact, Fong Chen didn't know why he would accept Bai Ye's name. It seemed that since the integration of the origin given by Bai Ye, in addition to gratitude towards Bai Ye, a feeling of respect had also been added in my heart, as if it was completely subconscious. Soon Fong Chen sent a video and Bai Ye clicked on it to watch. When Bai Ye saw the monster in the video appear out of thin air and then disappear out of thin air, his heart suddenly became excited. Space system. If it was invisible, the whole body of the monster should have disappeared at the same time, but from the slow-motion video, it can be seen that it disappeared from the head first. So Bai Ye immediately thought of the legendary space skills. Where is it? Bai Ye couldn't wait to send a message and asked. This photo was taken in a warehouse of my company. Is it still there? I don't know, but according to surveillance, it has come several times in the past few days. Okay, send me the location. After a while, Feng Chen sent a location. Bai Ye took a look at the location and found that it was a large warehouse in the west district of Wucheng. The space system is not easy to catch. Bai Ye frowned slightly and pondered. After Feng Chen returned home, the family celebrated a little without disturbing others. After all, although not everyone knew that Feng Chen was completely paralyzed, it did cause quite a stir at the time. If the news that Feng Chen suddenly returned to normal spread at this time, it would definitely attract the attention of many people. After dinner, Feng Zhenhua took Feng Chen to the study and handed him a card. There's 50 million on this card. Take it. Feng Chen took the card with some confusion and looked at Feng Zhenhua in confusion. This is a little help I can give to your organization. It also serves as a way out for our family. Feng Zhenhua explained in a heavy tone. Dad, why don't you and Mom also? Feng Chen looked at the card in his hand and spoke after hesitating for a moment. No need and I can't. Feng Zhenhua interrupted Feng Chen before he could finish his words. You said before that your organization is still a startup and there are not many members. If your mother and I join now, it will easily arouse suspicion from the superiors. Even if it doesn't cause suspicion, it will disrupt the future development of the organization. After all, everyone has relatives. Feng Zhenhua had thought about joining the Shanghai organization. However, they still don't understand the current situation of the Shanghai organization, so they can't make a hasty decision. Even if he wants to join, he has to wait for the Shanghai organization to develop. Feng Chen should understand the situation clearly before joining carefully. Okay, I understand. Feng Chen nodded thoughtfully. Oh, by the way, Dad, the organization asked me to gather at our company's warehouse tomorrow. It should be because of the monster in the warehouse. Well, I will call the warehouse staff tomorrow to inform them to take a day off. You'd better be careful. Feng Zhenhua reminded them with some concern. Yes, I will. Time flies and it's the next day. Since the monsters in the video basically appear at night, Bai Ye and his team only gathered at the warehouse in the afternoon. Squeak! Not long after Bai Ye and others arrived, Feng Chen drove to the warehouse. My lord! After getting out of the car, Feng Chen walked quickly to Bai Ye and called out respectfully. Have you brought everything? Bai Ye nodded in response and then asked. Everything is ready. Feng Chen opened the trunk and took out a silver metal box. Under the gaze of Bai Ye and others, Feng Chen opened the box. There are several sealed glass bottles in the box, as well as some syringes, tweezers, and other tools. My lord, please look, this bottle is potassium cyanide. Only 50 to 250 milligrams are needed to kill an adult. Feng Chen picked up a glass bottle and showed it to Bai Ye. After saying that, Feng Chen immediately handed it to Bai Ye to have a look, but Bai Ye directly rejected it. So Feng Chen put down the glass bottle in his hand and picked up another one to introduce. This bottle is VX neurotoxin. Only 10 milligrams is needed to kill a person, and 1 gram can kill 50,000 people. Moreover, it is a gas, and it will cause poisoning as long as it comes into contact with the skin. Feng Chen was very calm when he introduced himself, but Bai Ye and others were terrified. Then, Feng Chen introduced several toxins to Bai Ye, most of which were extremely poisonous and would kill anyone who came into contact with them. Where did you get these things? Bai Ye looked at Feng Chen strangely and asked. Some are extracted by the company's laboratory, and some are purchased privately from special channels. Feng Chen answered as if nothing had happened while packing up the things in his hands. What if it's leaked when we're hunting monsters later? Lu Yan asked worriedly. Although the warehouse is located in a remote area, it is in the city after all, and there are many large warehouses around. Once the poisonous gas leaks, it will inevitably cause serious consequences. Don't worry, this warehouse was designed to be airtight when it was built. As long as the valve is closed, This warehouse will be an airtight chamber. And I also brought a special disinfectant. Once I'm done hunting, I'll spray the entire warehouse through the indoor fire protection system and then let it sit for half a year. There won't be any problems. Ever since hearing that Bai Ye was going to use poison to hunt monsters, Feng Chen had already thought of the follow-up arrangements to ensure that there would be no accidents. After hearing Feng Chen's words, Bai Ye and the others' expressions eased a little. Poison this too and put it in his bait. Bai Ye took out a 3-line magic crystal, which was exactly the one from the 3-line monster that number 1 and Lu Yan had hunted before. This is. Feng Chen took the 3-pattern magic crystal, and a strong desire suddenly surged in his body, and he couldn't help but feel a little confused. This is the magic crystal in the monster's body. It can be absorbed to enhance one's own strength, Bai Ye explained. Looking at the magic crystal in his hand, Feng Chen's curiosity was overwhelming, and he wanted to take it into the laboratory for research immediately. But business is more important now, so Feng Chen had to suppress his desire and continue to prepare the trap. The light fades as the sun sets, and the stars appear as the moon rises. Time soon came to night, and Bai Ye and others had completed the setting of the trap. In a small room outside the warehouse, Bai Ye and others watched the surveillance camera and waited quietly for the prey to take the bait. Lu Yan, how's your night vision? Bai Ye looked at Lu Yan and asked. It's as bright as day. Lu Yan replied confidently. Bai Ye nodded. Okay, you go wait above the warehouse. If anything happens, notify us in time. Yes, my lord. After receiving the order, Lu Yan walked out of the room, came to the open space, changed his form, spread his wings, and soared into the sky. Later, Feng Chen looked at the wings behind Lu Yan, and the desire for knowledge reappeared in his eyes. Feng Chen, I really want to study it. Lu Yan, why do I feel a little cold today? After Lu Yan left, Bai Ye looked at number 1 and said, you should also be prepared. Number 1 nodded upon hearing this, and then switched forms. After an unknown amount of time, a white dot suddenly appeared on the surveillance screen that had not changed. Then, a slightly wretched head appeared out of nowhere, looked around, and then shrank back. My lord, it's coming. Feng Chen, who had been staring at the surveillance camera, shouted quickly. Number 1, notify Lu Yan to prepare. Bai Ye quickly ordered number 1 upon seeing this. Number 1 quickly walked out of the room upon hearing this, and then Bai Ye turned to look at Feng Chen. Feng Chen, the trap is left to you. Yes, my lord. Feng Chen picked up the remote control beside him and stared at the monitor intently. Not long after, something strange appeared in the surveillance again, and this time the monster seemed to have given up its vigilance and revealed its entire body. Everything was the same as usual. The monster walked to the box where the herbs were stored, broke a hole and went in. After a while, it came out with a medicinal herb in its mouth, eating it while walking. Just when the monster was about to leave as usual. Suddenly, the monster's nose twitched, as if it had smelled something treasure. It froze in place and the herbs in its mouth fell. Soon the monster came to its senses and followed the scent to an open space in the middle of the warehouse, staring at the ground not far away. In the open space, a glass box the size of a fish tank is covered with a metal plate. And inside that glass box, there was a mysterious black crystal. The moment the monster saw the black crystal, excitement suddenly appeared in his eyes, as if a pervert had seen a peerless beauty. However, the monster was not overwhelmed by the magic crystal, but began to observe the surroundings carefully. After confirming that there was no problem, he slowly approached the glass box. Every time he gets closer, he will stop to observe the surrounding situation and will only continue to move closer after confirming that everything is correct. This monster is really cautious. Feng Chen looked at the monster's cautious movements in the surveillance video and couldn't help but complain. No, it's purely timid. Combining this with the surveillance video he had seen before, Bai Ye could tell at a glance that this monster was not just timid. With such a strong ability to escape, why are you so timid? Is it natural or? Bai Ye looked at the surveillance camera and fell into deep thought. Not long after, the monster finally approached the glass box. After confirming that there was no danger, it could no longer hold back and pounced forward. The monster flashed and entered the glass box in the next second, but the glass box was intact. It's indeed space travel. Bai Ye was immediately excited when he saw this. If it was just a guess before, then the scene in the surveillance video was definite evidence. This is unscientific. How on earth is this done? Fangchen looked at the surveillance footage in disbelief, totally unable to believe his eyes. Get ready. Seeing Fangchen's absent-minded look, Bai Ye quickly spoke up to remind him. Oh, yes, my lord. Hearing Bai Ye's words, Fangchen suddenly came to his senses and quickly tightened the remote control in his hand. Huh, I almost ruined the master's plan. Fangchen thought to himself with self-blame. After entering the glass box, the monster first circled around the magic crystal a few times, twitching its nose and sniffing something. Bai Ye and Fangchen's hearts jumped into their throats when they saw the scene, fearing that it would discover something unusual and run away. Fortunately, although the monster felt something was wrong, it did not find anything unusual. After turning around in the glass for a few times, greed in his heart overcame his reason, and he began to approach the magic crystal. Here it comes. Upon seeing this, Fangchen immediately held his breath and focused his eyes on the monster's movements. His finger lightly fell on the switch, ready to press it at any time. A little closer, a little closer. I'm almost there. The time is now. Watching the monster arrive at the preset trap location, Fangchen decisively pressed the button in his hand. Instantly, a terrifying electric current connected the metal plate under the glass box. The electric current was so fast that the monster had no time to react and was directly shocked by the powerful electric current, causing its whole body to twitch and become unable to move. Then, as Fangchen pressed the second button, a stream of gas gushed out from around the glass box. In an instant, it filled the entire glass box. The gas in the glass box is a mixed poison gas prepared by Fangchen. It is no exaggeration to say that if these poisonous gases were released into a small town, at least half of the people and animals would die. Inside the glass box in the warehouse, he was electrocuted by a strong electric current and inhaled a large amount of poisonous gas. Although it is a powerful monster, it cannot withstand such an attack. In just a few minutes, the monster was electrocuted and fell to the ground with its body charred black, motionless, as if it was dead. Don't stop. Keep on shocking me for a while. Bai Ye was still a little worried seeing this, so he stopped Fangchen from turning off the switch. After charging the battery for half an hour and seeing no unexpected events, Bai Ye finally felt relieved and asked Fangchen to turn off the switch. Go ahead, number one. Bai Ye nodded to number one, who was already wearing protective clothing. Upon hearing this, number one immediately walked towards the warehouse. At this time, Fangchen also turned on the switch of the firefighting facility spray and began to spray special disinfectant. After a while, number one came out with 2 sealed metal boxes. How do you feel? Are you feeling any discomfort? Bai Ye asked with concern. I'm fine. Number one shook his head and said. Bai Ye, that's good. After completing the task, Bai Ye and others left the warehouse directly. Fangchen did not go home either, but left with Bai Ye. The group first found a restaurant to have dinner, and then returned to the hotel where they were staying. Since Bai Ye had something to discuss, the group went to room number one together. Sit down and talk. As Bai Ye spoke, he picked up a chair and sat down. After the 3 of them were seated, Bai Ye went straight to the point. I believe you all know why I established the Shanghai organization. In order to lay a solid foundation, the organization's development progress was very slow, but have you noticed one thing? At this point, Bai Ye paused, took out his phone from his pocket, and opened the short video platform. Then, in front of several people, he started brushing. After a while, Bai Ye turned off his phone, looked at everyone and asked, Did you notice? There are more videos about monsters. At least 7 out of 10 videos are about monsters. Fangchen reacted the fastest and directly pointed out the key point. So do you know what this means? Bai Ye asked. It means there are more monsters. Lu Yan also reacted and continued. Not only that, the monsters in the video I just watched are basically all above 2 lines, especially the monster that is taller than 2 floors. If I'm not mistaken, it should be a monster above 5 lines, so the monsters that appear now are getting stronger and stronger. Number 1 said in a deep voice. The monster mentioned by Number 1 was being attacked by a large number of guns and artillery in the video. There were several tanks and armored vehicles. But judging from the video, the injuries caused by these attacks were only minor injuries to the monster. The scene was littered with debris, including houses, vehicles, and people. No, I think the most important point is that the authorities should have begun to slowly unlock information about the monsters. I think it won't be long before the official will release all the information about the monsters. There could only be one reason why the authorities did this. The monsters were beyond their control. Fong Chen directly and pointedly pointed out the reason behind it. Yes, you are all right. The current situation is becoming increasingly serious. Even the authorities are unable to control it. All this proves one thing. At this point, Bai Ye paused, and then said in an extremely heavy tone, "It means that we don't have much time left. The country is certainly safe, but for us it's the opposite. The atmosphere in the country has greatly restricted our development." Number 1 and the others were stunned when they heard this, but after thinking about it, they understood what Bai Ye meant. "Then, my lord, are you planning to?" Fong Chen quickly thought of something and asked uncertainly. "I plan to develop abroad." Bai Ye stated his plan without hesitation. "As long as we don't go to big countries, we can develop freely without worrying about restrictions in all aspects." After hearing this, Number 1 and the others looked at each other and said in unison, "We will obey the Lord's wishes." Seeing that Number 1 and the others had no objections, Bai Ye nodded with satisfaction. "Since everyone has no objection, let's discuss which country to go to for development. Except for a few major countries, other countries can be considered. If you have any suggestions, please speak freely." Bai Ye had actually done some research on the target development site a long time ago, but when it came to choosing among several alternatives, Bai Ye was somewhat embarrassed. So after thinking it over, Bai Ye decided to make the decision through consultation with a few people. Because this choice was too important, Number 1 and the others did not rush to speak, but began to ponder on their own. After a while, Lu Yan raised his head and suggested, "Master, why don't we go to Africa? There is a vast land and sparse population, and the resources are rich, which is enough for us to develop." "No, I don't recommend going to Africa. Although Africa is rich in resources, it has also attracted the attention of many countries, organizations, and chaebols. If we develop there, it will easily attract the attention of the world's top powers, and it is uncertain whether it will be a blessing or a curse." Fong Chen shook his head and expressed his opinion. Bai Ye nodded upon hearing this. Africa was indeed one of his candidate targets, but it was ranked relatively far back. "Why don't we go to the Middle East? Although it's a bit chaotic there, it's very suitable for us to grow wildly." Number 1 suggested after thinking about it. "Forget it. I don't want a shell to fall on my head while I'm walking one day, and mold is likely to grow there." Lu Yan shook his head when he thought of the chaos in the Middle East. "Then how about going to those island countries in Southeast Asia? Those countries are not strong, but their economies are relatively developed, and they are also quite suitable for our development." Soon, Number 1 thought of another good option. This time Lu Yan did not object, and even Bai Ye nodded slightly. At this time, Fong Chen, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke up. "The Southeast Asian island countries are pretty good, but I have a better place in my mind." "Where?" Number 1 looked at Fong Chen curiously. Fong Chen looked around at the people, then said with a gleam in his eyes, "Sakura country." "Sakura country?" Hearing Fong Chen's answer, Number 1 and Lu Yan raised their eyebrows in surprise. "Yes, it's the Sakura country across the sea." Fong Chen nodded with certainty. "What's the reason?" Lu Yan asked in surprise. "Because there are 3 reasons. First, in the later stages of monster research, RT experiments are inevitable. If I use other people, my conscience may be morally condemned, but if I use Sakura people, it won't happen. Fangchen explained the reason calmly, while Bai Ye and others looked at him with strange expressions upon hearing what he said. As if seeing the confusion of Bai Ye and others, Fangchen immediately explained, "In my great-grandfather's generation, our Fang family was also a large and prosperous family, but in that war, the Fang family was bloodily slaughtered. And in the end, only my great-grandfather was left. So my family has a blood feud with the Sakura country." Speaking of this, Fangchen's eyes were filled with cold hatred. It was obvious that this deep blood feud had not been washed away by time. Bai Ye and others believed in hawkish ideas and did not have much good feelings towards the Sakura country, so they did not feel anything was wrong. Secondly, Sakura country's heavy industry, energy, semiconductors, and medical pharmaceuticals are all relatively developed, which is beneficial to our subsequent development. And as the monsters become more numerous and powerful, we may even be able to make some free purchases. As for the third, due to the restrictions of the treaty, the strength of Sakura country is relatively weak among countries of the same level, so it is relatively safer. After listening to Fangchen's explanation, Bai Ye did not give any answer, because he always believed that the Sakura country was definitely not as simple as it seemed. As a nation with no bottom line and credibility, he did not think that the Sakura country would abide by the Treaty of Defeat and only had the military strength on the surface. While Bai Ye was still thinking, Fangchen gave another point of view. "My lord, although I haven't really started studying monsters, I found a problem from those videos. These monsters rarely attack other creatures besides humans, and they often appear near human gatherings. I have actually speculated about this question a long time ago. Through observation, I have found that human flesh and blood should have some special attraction to monsters, or have some kind of benefit. So they prefer to prey on humans over other creatures." Bai Ye nodded and expressed his own conclusion. "Monsters like places with a lot of people, and the Sakura country is small and has a lot of people. It's smaller than one of our provinces, but has a population of 125 million, so there must be a lot of monsters in their country. The development of our organization is inseparable from monsters, which can be considered a favorable condition." Fangchen spared no effort in recommending Sakura country to Bai Ye, which made Bai Ye and others feel that something was wrong. "Tell me the truth. What is your purpose in choosing Sakura country?" Bai Ye put away his smile and stared at Fangchen with a serious expression. Fangchen seemed to have known that Bai Ye would ask this question, and answered directly and decisively, "Sakura country conducted RT experiments in our country, and now I want to do the same in their country." After hearing Fangchen's words, Bai Ye and the others couldn't help but twitch their lips slightly. "Not a buddy? Your thinking seems a bit conservative even for a hawk." "Excuse me for asking, didn't you study biology with this idea in mind?" Lu Yan asked with a strange expression. "There is a part." Fangchen did not hide anything and simply nodded in acknowledgement. Bai Ye pursed his lips upon hearing this, looked up at the ceiling, and sighed helplessly in his heart. "Who am I looking for? Okay, you guys go back and rest first. I'll think about the choice of development site and tell you the answer tomorrow. That's all for today." Bai Ye slumped in his chair and waved his hand. Lu Yan and Fangchen nodded after hearing this, then stood up and left the room. "Hey, why don't you go back?" Bai Ye looked at number 1, who was still standing next to him, and asked doubtfully. "Master, this is my room," number 1 said slowly after a moment of silence. "Bai Ye, on the way home." Fangchen thought back to the conversation just now and couldn't calm down for a long time. Although he made suggestions with strong selfish motives on such an important issue, he did not regret it. When Fangchen was a child, he was taken back to his hometown by his great-grandfather and saw a special wall. The wall was covered with palm-sized pieces of cloth, some of which were made of different materials and some had different patterns, but they had one thing in common: they were all stained with blood. My great-grandfather said that these pieces of cloth were cut from the bodies of his people who were killed by the Sakura country. The reason why it is preserved and hung here is not for any other reason than to let future generations not forget the national hatred and family feuds. Since then, Fangchen has had the seeds of revenge in his heart, but they have never sprouted. It was not until he met Lord Bai Ye and learned about the magic of monsters and the origin that the seed that had been hidden in his heart for many years quietly cracked. The next morning, Fangchen bought a big bag of breakfast and came to the hotel. At this time, Bai Ye and others had just gotten up and were preparing to go out for dinner. So early. Lu Yan looked at the breakfast in Fang Chen's hand and asked in surprise. It's better to come at the right time. Fang Chen smiled and raised the breakfast in his hand to indicate. Just like that, Bai Ye and his group came to room number 1 again and started to eat breakfast. During this process, Fang Chen kept looking at Bai Ye intentionally or unintentionally, as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. Bai Ye quickly understood what he was thinking and then put down the soy milk in his hand and said, "Now that everyone is here, I will announce the final choice of the development site." Hearing Bai Ye's words, number 1 and Lu Yan stopped what they were doing and looked at Bai Ye. Fang Chen held his breath and waited quietly for Bai Ye's answer. "I decided to go to the land of Sakura." Bai Ye stated the final choice word by word. "Cool." Hearing Bai Ye's words, Fang Chen widened his eyes in excitement and then let out a long sigh of relief. As for number 1 and Lu Yan, they didn't react much to Bai Ye's choice. Anyway, they would just follow Bai Ye wherever he went. Of course, even if we want to go to Sakura country, we can't just go there like this. Bai Ye glanced at Fang Chen and continued. "Master, there is 50 million in this card, which can be used as the initial development fund for the organization." Upon hearing this, Fang Chen quickly took out a card from his pocket and handed it to Bai Ye. 50 million. Number 1 and Lu Yan exclaimed in shock as they looked at the card in Fang Chen's hand. "Did your father give it to you?" Bai Ye did not rush to take the card, but asked calmly. "This is what my father donated to the organization for free. First, he wanted to thank you for curing me, and second, he wanted to establish a good relationship with the organization and find a way out for the future." Fang Chen did not hide anything and told Fang Zhenhua everything about his purpose. Looking at the card with 50 million in Fang Chen's hand, Bai Ye would be lying if he said he wasn't moved. In the early stages of the organization's development, money was needed in all aspects. Bai Ye originally planned to wait until he arrived in Sakura country and find an opportunity to borrow some original capital. Unexpectedly, when he felt sleepy, a pillow was given to him. Fang Chen solved this problem for him first. After listening to Fang Chen's explanation, Bai Ye immediately took the card and promised, "Okay, when the organization develops in the future, I will return this kindness to your father." "Thank you, my lord." Fang Chen bowed and expressed his gratitude. "Lu Yan, can you contact some reliable people from your retired comrades? After we get there, we will need a lot of people to develop." After Bai Ye put away the card, he turned to look at Lu Yan and asked. Hearing this, Lu Yan, who had just eaten a bun, nodded and said, "Got it. Master, I'll start contacting him right away." After saying that, Lu Yan took out his cell phone and started contacting his former comrades. At this time, Bai Ye looked at Fang Chen again and asked, "Fang Chen, can you try to contact some familiar and reliable scientific researchers? After all, you can't study monsters by yourself." Fang Chen nodded after hearing this. "Don't worry, Master. I know a lot of people in this area and it will definitely not delay the research. By the way, do you have any suggestions about laboratory construction?" Bai Ye suddenly thought of something and asked. "Ordinary experimental equipment and instruments are easy to buy, but some precious experimental instruments are difficult to buy even if you have money," Fang Chen said with a frown. "Oh? So, what do you mean?" Bai Ye looked at Fang Chen's malicious eyes and knew that Fang Chen should have a countermeasure in mind. Sure enough, after hearing Bai Ye's words, Fang Chen smiled. "My lord, I know a laboratory built by the people of Sakura country. The experimental equipment inside is very advanced and complete." I knew it. Upon hearing that the laboratory was funded by the Sakura people, Bai Ye immediately showed an expression of as expected on his face. "Location? In a small town on the coast of Haicheng. Is there any way to transport it out? My father knows a sea route and knows a transport ship boss who only recognizes Mazu." "Then, shall we discuss this? When I return, I will compile all the information and send it to the master. The intelligence has been prepared. It seems that this was really planned." Bai Ye looked at Fangchen speechlessly and complained silently. Oh, by the way, Master, do you need talents in other areas? Fangchen suddenly thought of something and asked. Bai Ye, what aspects? Computers, materials, weapons, ancient martial arts, etc. Fangchen counted on his fingers. Where did you get to know these talented people? I remember you were studying biology, right? Bai Ye looked at Fangchen in surprise when he heard that. When I participated in the competition, I joined a group. The group was basically composed of geniuses in various fields. The purpose of this group was to achieve the great rejuvenation of the country. And in this group, I found many people who hate cherry blossoms like me. Fangchen explained. Okay, then you give it a try. If you can win them over, that's great. If not, forget it. But there is one thing you must remember. You cannot reveal your origins or the information of other people in the organization. Bai Ye warned in a very serious tone. I will keep it in mind, my lord. Fangchen assured quickly. After a simple breakfast, Fangchen and the others started their respective tasks. As for Bai Ye, he returned to the room and took out the metal box containing the monster. Inside the metal box was a potion specially prepared by Fangchen to eliminate the remaining toxins in the monster. After a night of soaking, the remaining toxins in the monster's body had long been eliminated by the potion. After opening the metal box, Bai Ye put on waterproof gloves, took out the monster's body and placed it on the floor of the bathroom. Bai Ye then took out a dagger and pointed it at the monster's forehead, prying open a crack in the monster's head. Then Bai Ye used a pair of tweezers to pick out the magic crystal from the monster's head. 2-line magic crystal. After Bai Ye looked at the magic crystal on the tweezers, he rinsed it with clean water and put it away. After doing this, Bai Ye activated the extract skill on the monster corpse on the ground. The next second, a drop of silver-white origin mixed with starlight condensed from the monster's corpse. Space travel, here I come. Looking at the silver-white origin in front of him, Bai Ye's eyes were filled with fire. Without any hesitation, Bai Ye directly swallowed the silver-white origin into his mouth and activated the fusion skill. Soon, Bai Ye felt his body becoming lighter and lighter, as if it would turn into nothingness in the next second and merge into the surrounding space. If there were other people here at this time, they would be able to clearly see that Bai Ye was emitting little silver light. The silver lights flickered, as if echoing the surrounding space. After an unknown amount of time, Bai Ye felt his consciousness gradually returning and his body gradually returning to normal, and then he slowly opened his eyes. So, this is space. Bai Ye clenched his right hand. Although there was nothing in his hand, Bai Ye could vaguely feel a soft touch like water. Try out the new ability, space travel. The next second, Bai Ye's figure flashed and appeared beside the bed in the bedroom. After feeling the consumption in his body, Bai Ye roughly estimated. Currently, I can only teleport about 20 meters at most, and about 15 times in a short period of time. After trying out space travel, Bai Ye was ready to try out another skill he had acquired. Bai Ye looked around and picked up a water cup. Receive. The next second, the water cup in Bai Ye's hand disappeared out of thin air. In Bai Ye's perception, the disappeared cup fell directly into a void space. And this empty space is not somewhere else, but inside Bai Ye's sternum. This is the second skill that Bai Ye has acquired, bone storage, which is to use the power of space to open up a different space in a bone on the body, which can be used for storage. But it can only store inanimate objects, and living things cannot be stored in it. The strange space opened up in Bai Ye's sternum is currently only about 1,000 cubic meters, but as Bai Ye's strength increases, it can continue to expand. Thinking of this, Bai Ye took out a 3-pattern magic crystal from his pocket and swallowed it. The magic crystal melted in his mouth, and after a moment a huge amount of energy surged out and quickly filled Bai Ye's whole body, giving Bai Ye an extremely comfortable feeling like soaking in a hot spring. As the energy was continuously absorbed by his body, Bai Ye could clearly feel that his strength was rapidly increasing. At the same time, he became more and more familiar with the space around him, and even the strange space on his sternum was constantly expanding. Cool. After a long time, Bai Ye finally absorbed all the energy of the magic crystal. Feeling the surging power in his body, Bai Ye couldn't help but feel a little intoxicated. I don't know what level my power is at right now. Bai Ye activated his great strength and threw a punch, causing a deafening sonic boom to sound out of nowhere. Although he didn't hit any real object, Bai Ye estimated that if he fist bumped with number 1 again, number 1's arm would definitely break into several pieces. According to the current energy, I should be able to teleport up to 25 meters and teleport about 20 times in a row. Bai Ye closed his eyes and carefully sensed the space around him, making a rough estimate in his mind. The storage space has also expanded a lot. Bai Ye looked at the space on his chest and nodded with satisfaction. But soon Bai Ye seemed to have thought of something and rushed into the bathroom. Looking at the monster's corpse on the ground, Bai Ye quickly began to feel around for the bones inside the monster's body. Soon, Bai Ye discovered subtle spatial fluctuations on a rib in the monster's abdomen. Bai Ye then picked up the dagger, broke open the monster's stomach, and broke off the rib. Then he rinsed it with clean water, took a bath towel, and teleported into the bedroom. Spreading the towel flat on the ground, Bai Ye picked up the ribs and aimed them at the towel to communicate with the power of space. In the blink of an eye, a pile of debris appeared on the empty bath towel. Bai Ye immediately squatted down to check and sort out the items. Finally, Bai Ye classified these things into 3 categories. One pile was of rare medicinal materials in Fong Chen's company's warehouse, and the other pile also looked like plants, but they emitted faint energy fluctuations and had a shape that had never been seen before. So Bai Ye estimated that these were brought by the monster from the world they came from. In the last pile, there were 5 magic crystals, 2 one-line magic crystals, 3 two-line magic crystals, and the others were some mineral metals, crystals, and scales of unknown monsters that Bai Ye did not recognize. I'm rich. Bai Ye looked at the 3 piles of things on the ground and couldn't help but smile excitedly. If Bai Ye wasn't afraid that there might still be some toxins left on the monster's corpse, he would have wanted to hug the monster's corpse and give it a couple of kisses. Soon Bai Ye put everything on the ground into his own space. After the laboratory is built in the future, Bai Ye will give it to Fong Chen for research. After packing up his things, Bai Ye turned his gaze to the ribs in his hand. Inside this rib is a storage space opened up by the monster using the bone storage space. It is smaller than Bai Ye's storage space, but it is also more than 1,000 cubic meters. I don't know if they can use number 1. Bai Ye has his own storage space, which is better than this rib in terms of size and convenience. So when Bai Ye held the rib, he couldn't help feeling that it was tasteless to eat and a pity to throw it away, so he thought of number 1 and others. Thinking of this, Bai Ye immediately teleported to the next room. At this time, number 1 was doing push-ups to exercise and was suddenly startled by Bai Ye's sudden appearance. My lord. Number 1 came back to his senses and looked at Bai Ye, who was still in shock, and murmured, "Well, you get up first." Bai Ye nodded in response. Number 1 stood up immediately after hearing this, but subconsciously glanced at the door. But I found that the door was still closed. Try to inject energy into this bone. Bai Ye did not explain to number 1 how he got in, but directly handed the rib to number 1. Number 1 took the ribs and then injected energy into them according to Bai Ye's request. The next second, number 1 felt that he saw a piece of empty space, about 1,000 cubic meters. This discovery immediately made number 1 feel incredible, and he tried it several more times, but the result was still the same. So number 1 picked up his phone and slowly moved it closer to the ribs in his hand. When the phone just touched his ribs, number 1 felt his hand lighten and the phone instantly disappeared from his sight. Seeing this, number 1 immediately injected energy into the space between the ribs and found his cell phone. Then the thought of taking it out entered number 1's mind, and the next second, the phone reappeared in his hand. My lord, what is this? No matter how number 1 looked at this thing, it looked like a storage space in a novel, but number 1 was still a little hesitant to confirm it, so he could only turn around and look at Bai Ye. If you can use it, just keep it. Bai Ye didn't explain, just asked number 1 to leave it. Number 1 was the first subordinate Bai Ye found. If asked who was the most loyal to him, Bai Ye would choose number 1 without hesitation. After all, he had even given up his own name. After Bai Ye left, number 1 looked at the place where Bai Ye disappeared and murmured to himself, The Lord is getting stronger and stronger. On the other side, after returning to the room, Bai Ye first packed up the monster's corpse and put it into the storage space. Bai Ye then sat on the bed and began to look at the map of Sakura country, preparing to find a location to establish a base. In order to capture monsters more conveniently, Bai Ye first chose the most populous areas. After searching for a while, I found that the cities with the largest populations in the country of Sakura are Tokyo, Yokohama, Osaka, Nagoya, etc. These cities are relatively scattered and each has its own advantages and disadvantages. If we only consider population, economy, industry, etc., Bai Ye's first choice would be Tokyo. But after learning more about it, Bai Ye discovered that Sakura country had deployed a large number of armed forces in the Tokyo area. If a conflict arises in the future, it will not be conducive to fighting. So Bai Ye looked at the map of Sakura country and thought for a long time, and finally decided to build the base in Shizuoka area. Because the distance from here to several populous cities in Sakura country is close, it is also convenient for missions. Moreover, this place is close to the sea, transportation is convenient, and the security force is not strong. Then let's stay here for now. Bai Ye tapped the map with his finger, then downloaded it and saved it. I don't know if they have found the person they were looking for. Putting down the phone, Bai Ye looked toward the window and muttered to himself. How are you doing, bro? After Lu Yan dialed a number, he greeted enthusiastically. Be a security guard? 3,000 a month. Dania, why don't you come to me? I'll introduce you to a job that pays at least 8,000 a month. We're all comrades, how can I lie to you? Well, call me when you quit. After saying that, Lu Yan smiled and hung up the phone. Got another one. After writing down Lu Dania's name in the memo, Lu Yan immediately dialed the next number. This time the phone rang for a long time, but no one answered, so Lu Yan was about to hang up and dial the next number. But at this moment the phone rang. Although the call was connected, there was no sound from the other end. So Lu Yan was the first to speak. Hello? Is brother phone here? After the words fell, there was still no response from the other end of the phone. Brother phone, this is Lu Yan, are you listening? Lu Yan asked again after waiting for a while. Hello, brother phone? Hello. After shouting several times, Lu Yan still heard no sound coming back. Just when Lu Yan was feeling confused, an extremely decadent male voice came from the other end of the phone. It's Xiao Yanzi, what do you want to talk to me about? Even through the phone, Lu Yan could hear the strong sense of decadence in his voice. This feeling made Lu Yan a little dazed. What on earth did Brother Phone go through to become like this? When he was almost elected as the top soldier, Brother Phone didn't feel disappointed at all. Why is he so depressed now? Lu Yan swallowed the words of enticement when they came to his lips and asked with concern, Brother Phone, what's wrong with you? The other end of the phone was silent for a while before he slowly spoke. I'm fine, just tell me what you want to talk to me about. Although he felt something was wrong, Lu Yan still said, Brother Phone, I have a high-paying job here. Are you interested? Many of my comrades are willing to come. Sorry, thank you for your kindness, but I don't want to go out to work now. There was a moment of silence before the person on the other end of the phone replied. Brother Phone, have you encountered any difficulties? Lu Yan keenly sensed something was wrong, so he tried to ask. I didn't encounter any difficulties. It's my problem. That's it. Goodbye. After the person on the other end of the phone finished speaking, he hung up. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. After hanging up the phone, Lu Yan felt more and more that something was wrong. He always felt that something was wrong with Brother Phone. Brother Feng's full name is Lin Feng. He was a former comrade of Lu Yan's when he was in the army. Since I am a descendant of ancient martial arts, my physical fitness is very good in all aspects. On weekdays, Lin Feng is always warm and welcoming. For some comrades with weak constitutions, he will generously help them exercise. No matter who encounters difficulties, Lin Feng will help enthusiastically, and Lu Yan has received his help many times. Therefore, Lu Yan and other comrades have a great liking for Lin Feng, and they all call him brother from the bottom of their hearts. Thinking of this, Lu Yan became more determined to find out what happened to Lin Feng. So Lu Yan began to look through the phone book and soon found the phone number of a comrade from the same area as Lin Feng. After the call was connected, someone answered the phone quickly. After some small talk, Lu Yan began to ask about Lin Feng. But when they heard that it was about Lin Feng, the other end of the phone fell silent. What? Can't you tell me? Lu Yan asked quickly. No, alas. The person on the other end of the phone sighed deeply and began to narrate what happened. About a month ago, Lin Feng took his wife back to his hometown to visit relatives. But when the car was halfway on the road, an accident happened. A monster appeared out of nowhere and attacked their vehicle. Lin Feng's car crashed directly into a street lamp because he couldn't dodge in time. Lin Feng's wife fainted on the spot, but Lin Feng managed to hold on thanks to his strong physical fitness. However, the monster did not let Lin Feng and the other man go. After the vehicle was forced to stop, the monster rushed over. In order to protect his wife, Lin Feng rushed forward and fought the monster with his bare hands, regardless of the danger to his life. However, due to the huge disparity in physique and strength, Lin Feng not only failed to cause any damage to the monster, but was also slapped and flew into the roadside ditch. When Lin Feng climbed out of the ditch, the monster had disappeared, and his wife disappeared with it. Afterwards, the police rushed over and sent Lin Feng to the hospital. A few days later, the police found Lin Feng with some blood-stained pieces of clothing, some broken bones, and a photo. Lin Feng knew at a glance who the clothes and broken bones belonged to, and the photo showed a monster being killed. After hearing about Brother Feng's situation, I also rushed to see him, but Brother Feng seemed to have lost his spirit at that time, and he was in a daze. Later, I heard from the nurses in the hospital that Feng Gu often cried at night and scolded himself for being useless and a waste. At this point, the person on the other end of the phone paused for a moment and then continued in an extremely heavy tone. Later I learned that Brother Feng's wife was already pregnant at the time, and the purpose of their return home was to share this joy with their parents. After listening to his comrade's story, Lu Yan was stunned. He used to think that his experiences were miserable enough, but now he just feels that he was a nobody. There was silence on both ends of the phone until Lu Yan came to his senses and asked, "What are you doing recently?" "I stay at home and play every day, barely making ends meet with the dozens of houses my father gave me." Lu Yan. This sentence made Lu Yan's already bad mood even worse. "You really deserve to die," Lu Yan said, gritting his teeth. Ha ha. After a brief chat, Lu Yan hesitated for a long time holding his phone and finally decided to call Lin Feng. "Hello? Xiao Yanzi, is there anything else you need?" Lin Feng's decadent voice soon came from the phone. After hearing this, Lu Yan took a deep breath and slowly said, "Brother Feng, I heard about my sister-in-law's matter. Although I don't want to open your scars again, I want to ask you a question. Do you want to kill monsters?" Lin Feng on the other end of the phone fell silent after hearing this, but Lu Yan still heard a few deep breaths, as if he was trying hard to suppress his emotions. After a long while, Lin Feng asked in a hoarse voice, "What monster are you talking about?" "Demons are a general term for monsters. The monster that attacked my sister-in-law is also a type of monster," Lu Yan explained. "Are you back in the team?" Lin Feng asked. "No, I joined an organization." "Foreign organizations?" When he said this, Lin Feng's voice suddenly became a little cold. "No, although it is a private organization, it is composed entirely of Huxia people, and our goal is just to survive in the upcoming chaotic times," Lu Yan hurriedly explained. After listening to Lu Yan's explanation, Lin Feng did not respond immediately, but continued to ask, "Does your organization have powerful weapons?" Although the photo at that time did not reveal much information, Lin Feng still judged from the traces at the scene and the wounds on the monster's body that the monster was beaten to death by several people using heavy firepower to suppress it. Therefore, it is impossible to hunt those monsters without powerful firepower support. But the question is, where does a private organization get such powerful weapons? There are no weapons. To be more precise, there is not even a gun, Lu Yan said truthfully. After hearing what Lu Yan said, Lin Feng was so angry that he laughed. "Without even a gun, how can we kill those monsters?" Use cold weapons? If Lin Feng had a knife in his hand at that time, he would have been confident that he could have exchanged his life for a minor injury to the monster. Just when Lin Feng was about to politely refuse and tell Lu Yan not to do anything stupid, Lu Yan spoke first. Brother Feng, read the text message. I sent you a photo. Lin Feng opened the text message, and sure enough, Lu Yan sent him a photo. When I clicked on it, I saw a photo of a black monster with 6 tentacles on its back, lying on the ground motionless, obviously dead. There were 2 major wounds on the monster's body. One was on the neck, which looked like a tear caused by the claws of an animal. The real fatal wound was on the monster's head, probably caused by a powerful blow from a sharp weapon. Apart from this, Lin Feng did not find any other wounds, let alone signs of gunshot wounds and explosions. Brother Feng, although I have never seen the monster that attacked my sister-in-law, from other people's descriptions, I can roughly guess that the monster is no more than 2 lines. The monster in the photo I sent you was also a level 2 monster, and it was killed by me and another person in the organization. Lu Yan understood what Lin Feng meant, so before Lin Feng could speak, he took the lead in explaining. Lin Feng didn't say anything, but looked at the photo and felt something was wrong. He had seen the defense and strength of that monster, or demon. How could 2 ordinary people have such great power to break through the monster's defense and cause such a wound? But the problem is that Lin Feng looked carefully many times and found no signs of damage from hot weapons, and the photos were not photoshopped. This made Lin Feng feel very confused. What's the matter, Brother Feng? Don't you believe me? Seeing that Lin Feng had not responded yet, Lu Yan asked in confusion. It's not that I don't believe you, but this. Lin Feng hesitated when he said this. Brother Feng, just tell me. I'll try my best to answer any questions you have. Lu Yan heard Lin Feng's confusion and spoke quickly. I have fought with the monster you mentioned before, and even when I used all my strength, I couldn't cause any damage to it. But you said that the 2 of you could hunt down a monster. I don't mean to look down on you, but this is a little weird. Lin Feng expressed his doubts with deep confusion. Lu Yan knew that Lin Feng would notice this problem, but he did not reveal the secret of the origin. Brother Feng, I didn't lie to you. This monster was indeed killed by me and another person. As for how we killed it, I can't tell you the reason. I can only tell you that even 10 of you can't beat me as I am now. Lu Yan's words startled Lin Feng. He thought that Lu Yan had used some special weapon or some special method. He even thought that it was Lu Yan who killed the monster while wearing the exoskeleton armor. But I didn't expect Lu Yan to say 10 things that I couldn't beat him, etc. Suddenly Lin Feng seemed to think of something. If Lu Yan was still an ordinary person, this sentence would be impossible. But what if Lu Yan is not an ordinary person now? If I join, how many times can my strength be improved at most? Lin Feng asked directly and decisively. Ever since the attack, Lin Feng hated himself all the time. I hate myself for rushing to bring my pregnant wife home to announce the good news. I hate myself for being so weak and unable to protect the one I love the most. But compared to hating himself, what he hated most was the monster. He wished he could cut it into pieces, break its bones, and dig out its heart. It's not the highest, but it was still easy to kill the monster that attacked you. Lu Yan's calm tone was full of confidence. This time Lin Feng said without hesitation, Okay, I believe you. I am willing to join your organization. Hearing Lin Feng's answer, Lu Yan suddenly showed a long-lost smile on his face. Don't worry, Brother Feng, I won't let you down. Then Lu Yan told Lin Feng the gathering place and some precautions, and then ended the call. I have recruited a great general for the master. The master will definitely praise me when the time comes. After hanging up the phone, Lu Yan happily wrote Lin Feng's name on the memo. 3 days passed in a flash. Most of the people recruited by Lu Yan and Feng Chen have arrived, and the others either have unfinished business or are still on the way. In the outskirts of Yuecheng, in an abandoned, unfinished building, Feng Chen and Lu Yan gathered all the people they recruited here. Xiao Yanzi, you're not joining some pyramid scheme, are you? After Lu Dani looked around, he whispered to Lu Yan. Yes, Lu Yan, who would come here for an interview? You weren't cheated, another person whispered. Hearing this, the others also looked at Lu Yan, waiting for an explanation. As comrades in arms, They believed that Liu Yan would not lie to them, but they were worried that Liu Yan had been deceived and was unaware of it. Believe me, I won't lie to you. Look, isn't Brother Feng here too? Liu Yan explained again helplessly. Brother Feng. Many people glanced at Lin Feng, who was standing alone in a trance, but no one spoke. After all, many people knew about Lin Feng's affairs. At this time, on the other side, the people that Feng Chen attracted were relatively calm, and they gathered together and chatted with each other. Feng Chen, would you mind telling me how your organization cured you? Yang Ruowei looked at Feng Chen's head curiously and asked with curiosity in her heart. You should know that when Feng Chen was injured, her teacher went to see her specifically, but after a thorough examination, he could only shake his head and sigh helplessly. Although the others didn't say anything, their eyes were also full of curiosity. I can only tell you this after you join the organization. Feng Chen shook his head when he heard this and did not explain. Feng Chen, is it true that you told me that if I join your organization, I can study monsters? At this time, a fair-looking young man asked. Don't worry, Wang Mo. We can start research once the laboratory is built. Feng Chen nodded and assured. Like Feng Chen, Wang Mo is also a genius in biology. But due to my humble background, I worked as an ordinary researcher in the Research Institute after graduation. When he learned about the existence of monsters, creatures that had never appeared before, he wanted to join the research very much. But without connections and contacts, he had never even entered the laboratory. So when he heard Feng Chen's invitation, his first condition was to study monsters. And Feng Chen agreed decisively. Some of the people Feng Chen recruited were for monsters, some for ideals, and some for themselves or the people they cared about the most. Li Tianjian and Li Yunxi are such examples. Feng Chen, when will the master you mentioned come? Li Tianjian pushed Li Yunxi, who was sitting in a wheelchair, forward and asked. Li Tianjian, a genius of ancient martial arts, started practicing martial arts since he was a child. At the age of 18, he was able to compete with some old masters. At the age of 20, Li Tianjian, in order to prove the ancient martial arts and fight against the arrogance of foreign martial arts such as Taekwondo and Karate. So he successively challenged and defeated many foreign martial arts masters, making them lose face. But his actions affected some people's cakes. Li Tianjian was too powerful to retaliate, so they turned their attention to his sister Li Yunxi. Just after Li Tianjian finished his challenge, he heard the news that his sister Li Yunxi had been in a car accident. When he rushed to the hospital, although Li Yunxi's life was saved, he could not stand up. Since then, Li Tianjian gave up challenging the club and took Li Yunxi to seek medical treatment everywhere. Only after receiving Feng Chen's invitation and guarantee did they rush here. Feng Chen took out his phone, checked the time and said, "It's almost time. It should be here soon. Bite." Just then, a message alert sounded. Feng Chen opened it and saw that it was a message from Bai Ye. "The master is here," Feng Chen said loudly. Hearing this, Liu Yan at the side hurriedly asked his comrades to stand still and stopped talking. Feng Chen also asked the people around him to stop chatting. There was only one passage to this floor, so everyone looked towards the staircase. I was curious about what the master mentioned by Feng Chen and Liu Yan looked like. Just as everyone was waiting intently, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Oh my god! How did this person appear? When did he come? Bai Ye suddenly appeared, and everyone present widened their eyes in shock. It would be understandable if only one person was dazzled, but there were more than 40 people present. How could everyone be dazzled? Just like that, Bai Ye hasn't said a word since he appeared, but everyone looks at him with a hint of awe. Feng Chen, is this your master? Yang Ruowei, who was not even afraid of the cadaver teacher, couldn't help but ask in a low voice with some fear. Yes, this is the founder of our organization and my master. Feng Chen nodded and acknowledged with pride. Hiss. Feng Chen, may I ask, is your master a human? Wang Mo took a deep breath and asked cautiously. Feng Chen couldn't help but roll his eyes at him when he heard this. My lord, he must be a human being, and a Huxia, the same race as us. Feng Chen, is this the special ability that your organization controls? Weapon genius Tang Lei asked excitedly. It's one of them. Fangchen said after hesitating for a moment. Wow, that's so cool. Tang Lei is a fan of the second dimension and is eager to have special abilities. So when I saw Bai Ye's teleportation, I was not afraid at all, but even very excited. Listening to the whispers of the crowd, Bai Ye was very satisfied with the way he made his debut. After all, the people present were either gifted geniuses or retired soldiers. It would be difficult to intimidate them unless you showed some real skills. Everyone present was of high quality. After a brief discussion, they stopped talking and handed the initiative to Bai Ye. Bai Ye looked around at everyone, then waved his right hand and took out a table and 2 boxes of iced mineral water from the storage space and placed them in front of everyone. I'm sorry to have you all meet here. There's not even a seat, and you've been waiting for so long. There is some water here. If anyone is thirsty, come and get some. If everyone was still confused by Bai Ye's appearance just now, the table and 2 boxes of iced mineral water that suddenly appeared in front of them have made them begin to doubt their own worldview. Is this magic? It feels a bit fake to say it's magic. Lu Yan's comrades were all stunned, and everyone on Fangchen's side looked at Fangchen, their eyes full of curiosity. Fangchen looked at them, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. This, you will know after you join the organization. After standing here for so long, many people were indeed thirsty. So everyone took a bottle of water in an orderly manner. It's still cold. When they got the water, someone exclaimed. After the atmosphere calmed down, Bai Ye immediately spoke again. I believe that before you came, Lu Yan and Fangchen gave you a general introduction to our organization. I don't care what your purpose is for joining the organization, but please remember one thing. If there are those who betray the organization, we will do our utmost to hunt them down until they die. As Bai Ye spoke, a terrifying pressure suddenly emanated from his body, which made everyone present breathless. However, this pressure soon disappeared, but these few short seconds left an indelible impression in everyone's mind. Before joining the organization, there is one thing I want to make clear to everyone. Our organization is about to expand abroad. If anyone doesn't want to, they can leave now. I will never stop them. After saying that, Bai Ye made way and signaled that anyone who wanted to leave could leave. But after waiting for a while, no one present wanted to leave. Seeing this, Bai Ye nodded with satisfaction and stood back up. Since no one wants to leave, then congratulations to everyone on becoming a member of our Shanghai organization. I hope we can work together to create brilliance together. At this time, I don't know who clapped, and others followed suit. Looking at the clapping crowd and the simple surrounding environment, in a trance, Bai Ye almost thought he was a MLM guru. Number 1, it's you again. Bai Ye looked speechlessly at Number 1, who had no sense of existence behind the crowd. When the applause stopped, Bai Ye waved and put away the table. Since everyone has not arrived yet, the organization has no tasks for the time being. Everyone can relax and take care of their own affairs in the next few days. After all, we won't be back in a short time after we go out this time. Do you have any questions now? Feel free to ask. Bai Ye took out a chair and sat down, speaking in a calm tone. My lord, is our monthly salary really 8,000? The first person to ask the question was Lu Daniu, whom Lu Yan had hired with a monthly salary of 8,000 yuan. When everyone heard Lu Daniu's question, they all looked at him in surprise. Not a brother? I give you a chance to ask a question, and this is all you ask? Lu Yan looked at Lu Daniu, whom he had hired with a monthly salary of 8,000 yuan, and for a moment he didn't know whether he should laugh or not. The other comrades already knew that Lu Daniu's mind was a little dull, so they just smiled and said nothing. After hearing this question, Bai Ye turned to look at Lu Daniu. I found that although Lu Daniu looked a little silly, he was strong and sturdy, and was a good candidate. So he smiled and said, if you do a good job, I will give you a monthly salary of more than 10,000 yuan. Thank you, my lord. When Lu Daniu heard that he could get a monthly salary of 10,000 yuan if he did a good job, he was immediately surprised and hurriedly expressed his gratitude loudly. Everyone laughed when they saw this. My lord, I would like to ask, when can my sister's leg be treated? At this time, Li Tianjian pushed Li Yunxi to the front and asked. Bai Ye looked at Li Yunxi's legs when he heard this. Feng Chen had already told him about Li Tianjian's siblings. Li Yunxi's legs were comminuted fractures and were originally planned to be amputated, but were saved by Li Tianjian. I heard from Feng Chen that you are very good at computers? Bai Ye said to Li Yunxi. I have hacked into the servers of major companies in Sakura Country and Kimchi Country, and I have also entered their national defense systems several times. Li Yunxi's voice was cold and calm, as if he was narrating a trivial matter. Hearing Li Yunxi's words, everyone around looked at her in shock. Especially Lu Yan's comrades in arms, who had served in the military before and understood the importance of the national defense system. Although Li Yunxi invaded the defense systems of two small countries, they were two developed countries after all. From this we can see that Li Yunxi's computer skills are indeed very strong. Bai Ye's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he nodded with satisfaction. The organization will have a mission in a few days, and will need your help. If you do a good job, I'll treat your leg in advance. In a few days, Feng Chen will start his plan to seize the instruments from Sakura Laboratory. At that time, Li Yunxi will be used to provide cover and handle the follow-up. I didn't mean to hold you back. I need to use my essence to heal your leg. The source of the organization is currently in short supply, and if you don't make a contribution, I can't give it to you first. In order to avoid misunderstanding, Bai Ye still explained. Origin? What is the origin? Hearing that Bai Ye's origin could actually heal comminuted fractures, young Ruowei immediately became interested and asked quickly. The others were also full of doubts at this time. The origin is a special substance that our organization extracts from living organisms through special means. It possesses the abilities, characteristics, and blood of the creature. As long as you absorb the origin, you will inherit the abilities, characteristics, and blood of the creature. Bai Ye stood up and teleported to the center of the crowd. Everyone was shocked when they saw this and quickly made way for an empty space. For example, my ability is to absorb the essence of a monster with spatial ability. As Bai Ye spoke, he took out a bottle of water out of thin air and took a sip. So, if we want to cure Yunxi's leg, we just need to absorb a biological essence that has the ability to regenerate and heal severed limbs? Hearing this, young Ruowei immediately understood everything and explained it first. Yes, you are right. Bai Ye smiled and nodded. Is this scientific? At this moment, Wang Emo felt that his worldview was collapsing rapidly, and he looked helplessly at Feng Chen beside him. This should be scientific. Feng Chen's eyes were wandering, and he replied unconfidently. But there are many creatures that can regenerate limbs, such as salamanders, octopuses, etc. Is it difficult to extract the essence? Young Ruowei couldn't help but continue asking with some confusion. This involves a side effect of the origin. As he spoke, Bai Ye teleported in front of everyone again and sat back in his chair. That's right. How could such a miraculous object be perfect? Young Ruowei couldn't help but mutter to herself when she heard this. What are the side effects? Li Tianjian looked at his sister's legs and asked anxiously. If the essence is extracted from an ordinary organism, after the human body absorbs it, some characteristics of the organism will appear on the body. For example, if Li Yunxi absorbed the essence of the octopus, she might grow 8 legs or 8 tentacles. Bai Ye pointed to Li Yunxi's legs as an example. 8 legs. Li Yunxi looked at her legs after hearing this, feeling full of resistance. However, after listening to this, Li Tianjian hesitated for a moment, looked down at Li Yunxi and asked softly, "How about?" "Don't want." Without waiting for Li Tianjian to finish, Li Yunxi interrupted loudly. "That's not right. Logically speaking, Feng Chen, you should have absorbed the essence, so why haven't you changed?" At this time, Wang Emo discovered something was wrong, turned to look at Feng Chen and said, "Could it be that?" Having said that, Wang Mo's gaze gradually moved downwards. "What are you looking at?" Feng Chen felt a little scared when Wang Emo looked at him, and he quickly took a step back and scolded him. "Let me see." Seeing Feng Chen's guilty actions, Wang Emo became more certain of his guess, so he wanted to forcibly check it out. "Roll." Feng Chen couldn't bear it anymore and grabbed Wang Mo's arm and threw him aside. What a great strength! Seeing this, Lu Yan's comrades were shocked. To lift an adult off the ground with one hand and then throw him to the side steadily requires the strength that ordinary people simply cannot do. TSK. Why are you shy? It's not like you haven't seen it before. After being thrown aside, Wang Mo stood firm and said angrily, Upon hearing this, the people around them looked at the two of them in disbelief. What are you talking about? When have you ever seen it? Being looked at with strange eyes by everyone, Fangchen immediately became angry like a cat whose tail was stepped on. When I go to the bathroom. Wang Mo raised his head slightly and answered. Whispering sound. Hearing Wang Mo's words, everyone couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. So, my lord, why did Fangchen absorb the origin but no changes occurred? Seeing that he couldn't get an answer from Fangchen, Li Tianjian asked Bai Ye. Everyone looked at Bai Ye at this time. After all, no one wanted to become a monster that was neither human nor ghost. This brings us to the topic of monsters. Bai Ye did not hide anything and immediately began to explain. I guess except for a few people, most people don't know much about monsters. They have only seen them on their phones. Most of the people nodded silently when they heard this. Only Lin Feng's eyes were filled with cold hatred. Monsters generally refer to those monsters that do not belong to the known world. They like to attack and prey on humans. They are usually very strong, and their strength, speed, and defense are beyond the reach of ordinary people. And some powerful monsters also have various special abilities, such as the monster with spatial abilities that I absorbed. Because the abilities and characteristics of monsters are magical, the origins of monsters are also different. After experiments, it was found that after the human body absorbs the essence of the monster, although the body will also develop corresponding characteristics, these characteristics can be automatically retracted when not in use. After it is put away, the human body remains the same as that of an ordinary person. At this point, Bai Ye paused, then turned to look at Lu Yan. Lu Yan, show it to me. Yes, my lord. After receiving the order, Lu Yan took off his shirt, walked forward a few steps, and distanced himself from the crowd. Then, Lu Yan communicated with the original power and began to transform his form. A golden light appeared, and Lu Yan's whole body was ablaze with golden flames. A pair of golden wings spread out from behind Lu Yan, and the golden feathers quickly covered Lu Yan's entire body. Not long after, Lu Yan completed the transformation under the gaze of everyone. A wave of heat hit them head-on, making their throats dry, and they swallowed subconsciously. If Lu Yan hadn't changed his form in front of them, I'm afraid they had already regarded Lu Yan as a monster and screamed. Is this the reason why Xiao Yanzi was able to beat 10 of me? Lin Feng felt the pressure from Lu Yan, and his eyes quickly turned from shock to passion. If he had this power at the beginning, that damn monster would not be his opponent at all. At the side, Wang Mo, whose worldview had already collapsed, now felt that his worldview had been completely shattered. He stared at Lu Yan absent-mindedly and muttered to himself, It's unscientific. Before Wang Mo finished speaking, Yang Ruowei on the side was the first to exclaim. Is the existence of monsters scientific? Someone objected. After a brief demonstration, Lu Yan turned back into human form. Do you have any other questions? Bai Ye asked after looking at everyone. I have another question. At this time, a petite girl raised her hand and said, You say? Bai Ye looked over and nodded. If Bai Ye remembered correctly, this girl should be Yi Fanqing, the materials science genius Fangchen mentioned. She was dug out by Fangchen from a top university, and her condition seemed to be to save her grandmother. I want to ask, can this origin prolong life? Yi Fanqing was a little nervous and asked Bai Ye with eyes full of expectation. Extend your life. Hearing this question, everyone present was excited. From ancient times to the present, if the ultimate dream of most people is to become an emperor, then the emperor's ultimate dream is immortality. Even now, countless powerful and wealthy people want to live a few more years in their later years and try every possible means to prolong their lives. In principle, it is possible. Bai Ye nodded slightly. Bai Ye had thought about the issue of prolonging life, but he didn't know how to look at it. So I plan to study this issue later. Not to mention monsters, there are many long-lived species in nature. In principle, as long as you absorb the corresponding essence, you should be able to prolong your life. But I don't know the specific situation yet. I want to know after conducting experiments later. Bai Ye did not make any boasts, but told the whole story directly. I understand. Thank you, my lord. After getting Bai Ye's answer, Yi Fanqing showed a smile on his face and his eyes became brighter. Several people later raised questions about the origin and monsters, and Bai Ye answered them one by one. After no one raised any more questions, Bai Ye disbanded the team and left the unfinished building. In the next 2 days, all the people contacted by Lu Yan and Feng Qin arrived in Yuecheng one after another. Bai Ye even took some time out for this and conducted another interview. Finally, Bai Ye counted and found that there were 76 people in Shanghai organization, including Bai Ye and others. Among them, Lu Yan recruited a total of 48 comrades, and Feng Qin recruited a total of 24 researchers and talents. By this calculation, Bai Ye's Shanghai organization has taken shape. In the hotel room, Bai Ye convened another meeting for tomorrow's action. Tomorrow when we go in, Feng Qin and number 1 will come with me. Feng Qin, you will be responsible for counting the useful instruments, and number 1 and I will be responsible for carrying them. By the way, Feng Qin, the instruments you mentioned should not be very large. Having said that, Bai Ye turned to Feng Qin and asked. Feng Qin nodded upon hearing this. According to my estimation, the storage space for you and number 1 should be enough. That's good. By the way, how is your dad's preparation going? Bai Ye asked. My father has already contacted the ship to go abroad. Once our operation is successful, we can board the ship and leave directly. Lu Yan, have you made arrangements for the families of your comrades? Bai Ye then turned to look at Lu Yan and asked. Everything has been handled. Lu Yan nodded in response. Well, tomorrow, Lu Yan, you will take the rest of the organization to wait on the ship. After we succeed, we will go abroad directly. Bai Ye knew that if he succeeded, it would definitely cause a commotion in Haicheng. By then, I am afraid that all ships leaving the country will be searched. Therefore, he must take advantage of the time difference after his success and leave the country as soon as possible. The next day, Bai Ye led a group of people to Haicheng. After entering Haicheng, Bai Ye and Lu Yan split up into 2 groups, each leading their own men to carry out last night's plan. Weihai Town, Yaqi Biological Research Center. Since this research center was funded by the Sakura people, it was stipulated after its completion that Huxia people were not allowed to enter. In other words, all the staff in this institute are Japanese. On the top floor of the building opposite the Yaqi Biological Research Center, Bai Ye and his team looked down at the research center opposite and began to plan their route for the evening. Master, look at the building in the middle. Feng Qin pointed to the building in the middle of the research center and said, that building is where all their laboratories are located. There are 4 floors in total, and most of the advanced instruments and equipment are placed on the 4th floor. So when we take action tonight, we will start looting from the 4th floor. After completing the mission, we will evacuate from the left side. About 300 meters to the left of the research center, there is a small path without surveillance. When the time comes, Li Tianjian will just drive there with Li Yunxi and wait for us. Feng Qin pointed out both the action route and the evacuation route. Seeing that there was no problem, Bai Ye nodded. By the way, do you have any problem there? Bai Ye turned to look at Li Yunxi beside him and asked. Li Yunxi was sitting in a wheelchair with a laptop on his legs, typing quickly on the keyboard. Hearing Bai Ye's question, Li Yunxi stopped what he was doing and looked up. I just tried it and there was no problem. However, when I checked the internal information of their institute, I found that there should be a basement under their laboratory building. But the problem is that there is very little information about that basement, as if something is being deliberately concealed. Hearing Li Yunxi's words, everyone looked up at the laboratory building of the research center opposite. If the basement was just an insignificant storage room, it would not have been deliberately concealed in the information. Unless there is something particularly important in it, or there is some secret that cannot be told. After looking at the laboratory building opposite, Bai Ye was full of guesses. Then he turned and looked at Feng Qin. After all, among all the people present, he knew this research center best. But Feng Qin's face was full of confusion at this time, and he obviously didn't know the situation in this basement. Forget it, let's go check out the basement after we finish our plan tonight if we still have time. Bai Ye thought about it and decided. After planning the route, Bai Ye and his group left. In order not to arouse suspicion, the group spent the rest of the time playing on the beach on the other side of the town. Wait till night falls. Bai Ye looked at the night sky. The dark clouds covered the moon and the moonlight was invisible. It was a good day for a thief. Oh no! It was a good day for robbing the rich and giving to the poor. Let's take action. Bai Ye turned around and said something to number 1 and Fangchen, then put on his hood and disappeared into the night. Upon hearing this, number 1 and Fangchen quickly changed their forms, put on special black robes to cover their entire bodies, and followed Bai Ye. Brother, be alert. I'm ready to start. Li Yunxi put on his headphones and immediately started his task. Soon, under the cover of night, Bai Ye and the other two quietly arrived outside the wall of the Yaqi Biological Research Center. Li Yunxi, it's time to start. Bai Ye instructed into the Bluetooth headset. Receive. After receiving the order, Li Yunxi decisively pressed the final order that had been prepared long ago. A few seconds later, Li Yunxi's voice came again. Okay. Action. After hearing what Li Yunxi said, Bai Ye took the lead in activating Space Shuttle and teleported into the wall. Number 1 and Fangchen just exerted a little force with their legs and jumped over the wall directly. After entering the research center, Fangchen quickly identified the direction, then took the lead and walked in front to lead the way for Bai Ye. Since the surveillance has been taken care of by Li Yunxi, Bai Ye and others only need to avoid people. It is now late at night, and most of the staff at the research center have fallen asleep. Only the lights in the experimental building and a few laboratories were still on. The journey was uneventful, and Bai Ye and the other two quickly and smoothly arrived at the bottom of the laboratory building. Wait here for a moment. I'll go over and take a look at the situation. After Bai Ye stopped the two people, he traveled through space to the 4th floor. All the rooms on the 4th floor had been shut down, and Bai Ye walked around but didn't find anything. So Bai Ye went down from the 4th floor to the 3rd floor. There were 2 rooms on the 3rd floor with lights on. Bai Ye traveled through space and came to the door of one of the rooms. The door was not closed tightly at this time. Through the narrow gap in the door, Bai Ye saw 2 middle-aged men doing experiments inside. As for the other room, since the door was locked, Bai Ye did not dare to go in to check. After seeing that nothing happened, Bai Ye returned to the 4th floor and used the Bluetooth headset to notify the 2 people below. Come up. After receiving Bai Ye's order, number 1 and Fangchen took the fire escape to the 4th floor. After meeting up with Bai Ye, the 3 of them came to one of the rooms. Let's get started. Bai Ye said to Li Yunxi on the other end of the headset. Drop. With a beep, the electronic door in front of Bai Ye was automatically unlocked. Quick! Bai Ye opened the door and asked Fangchen to confirm the instrument while he and number 1 disassembled and packed the instrument. This, and this. Take it all away. Amid Fangchen's excited voice, Bai Ye and his group rushed in like bandits entering the village. Pack up all the things you can use and put them in the storage space. In just over 10 minutes, Bai Ye and the other 2 cleared out all the precious instruments on the 4th floor. Is there anything missing? After moving the last room, Bai Ye asked Fangchen in a low voice. No, other instruments are easily available on the market. There is no need to waste time. Fangchen's face was filled with a simple smile, and he shook his head and said. Bai Ye looked at the time and found that it was still early for the scheduled evacuation time. So Bai Ye decided to go and see the basement that Li Yunxi mentioned. Since he didn't know the entrance, Bai Ye decided to go down and check it out by himself. Number 1 and Fangchen stayed on the 1st floor to keep watch for Bai Ye. After arriving at the 1st floor, Bai Ye searched around the 1st floor, but he couldn't find the entrance to the basement. So Bai Ye put his hands on the ground, ready to start the space shuttle. Before starting the space shuttle, there is a very practical trick. That is, after determining the direction of travel, Bai Ye can use the power of space to obtain the spatial conditions along the way, which is a bit like radar. Soon, Bai Ye used the power of space to discover a huge space about 10 meters underground. I guess this is the basement that Li Yunxi mentioned. So Bai Ye found a corner and teleported down directly using the space shuttle. Bai Ye only felt a flash before his eyes, and when he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a toilet cubicle. After listening to the outside and hearing no movement, Bai Ye opened the door and walked out. It was very quiet outside, walking in the corridor. Bai Ye could clearly hear his own footsteps. In the surrounding rooms and on the walls, there were words written about cherry blossoms that Bai Ye couldn't understand. As he walked, Bai Ye soon arrived outside a laboratory. The door of this laboratory was locked, and Bai Ye teleported in immediately. But the first sight when he entered the door scared Bai Ye. Under the not-so-bright light, several corpses of monsters soaked in unknown liquid were facing Bai Ye's direction. Before Bai Ye could go forward to check, Li Yunxi's voice came from the headset. "My lord, can you hear me?" "I can hear you, what's wrong?" Bai Ye stopped and asked puzzledly. "When you entered the basement just now, I lost your signal here. Later I reconnected to you through their internal network." Li Yunxi quickly recounted what had just happened. "You've come just in time. Can you try to open these glass jars?" Bai Ye took out his cell phone, took a picture of the glass jar containing the monster's corpse in front of him, and sent it to Li Yunxi. After a while, Li Yunxi's apologetic voice came from the headset. "Sorry, master. These containers should be using physical locks. There is nothing I can do here." "Okay then, you see if there are any alarms here, and I'll figure out the rest," Bai Ye said after thinking about it. There were 5 monster corpses in front of Bai Ye at this moment. How could he let them go so easily? "Wait a moment, my lord. I'll be there soon." After Li Yunxi finished speaking, he quickly began to type on the keyboard. Taking advantage of this time, Bai Ye started to walk around the laboratory. In this laboratory, Bai Ye found many of the precious instruments that Fangchen had just mentioned, as well as some bottles and jars of medicines. There were a lot of information scattered on the table in the laboratory, but it was all written in Sakura language, which Bai Ye couldn't understand. However, a black notebook on the desk attracted Bai Ye's attention. Judging from its placement and the densely packed text on it, it should record something very important. So Bai Ye put the notebook into the storage space. Coming deep into the laboratory, Bai Ye found a glass room surrounded by tempered glass. Inside the glass room, the curtains were drawn, so Bai Ye couldn't see what was inside. So Bai Ye instantly went in to see what it was that was covered up tightly. As soon as he entered the glass room, Bai Ye saw a hospital bed. On the bed, there was a naked man, with various instruments inserted into his body. The man's chest was still rising and falling, so he should still be alive. However, if this scene happened in the hospital, Bai Ye would not be surprised. But this is the laboratory of the Sakura people, and it is also an unknown basement laboratory. Seeing this, Bai Ye couldn't help but have a bad feeling. Bai Ye walked forward quietly, came to the man's bedside, lowered his head and looked at him. The man was obviously of Asian race and looked very much like a Huxia, but Bai Ye was not sure. The man's face was pale and he looked very weak. Many parts of his body were wrapped in gauze. Just as Bai Ye was observing quietly, the man on the bed opened his eyes. Seeing this, Bai Ye hurriedly wanted to reach out to cover his mouth, but the first words the man said made Bai Ye stunned. "Kill me." The man's voice was weak, as if he had exhausted all his strength. In those lifeless eyes, Bai Ye could not see any hope for life, only a prayer for release. "Who are you? Why are you here?" Bai Ye asked in a hoarse voice. At the same time, Bai Ye took out his mobile phone and silently clicked on the video. Hearing that Bai Ye was speaking Mandarin, the man's eyes suddenly brightened up, but soon dimmed again. "I was tricked into coming here. They used me for experiments, stabbing me with needles and injecting me with drugs every day. I really can't hold on any longer. Please kill me." After saying that, the man begged Bai Ye to kill him again. The torture and suffering of these days had already destroyed his belief in living. All he wanted now was to die immediately and be free. RT experiment. Hearing the man's words, Bai Ye's pupils shrank in shock. Then a surge of rage surged into Bai Ye's heart. The land of Sakura actually dares to use Huxia people for RT experiments. The tragedy of history reappeared before Bai Ye, and at this time Bai Ye's eyes were filled with bloodthirsty murderous intent. "Please kill me." At this time, The man on the bed prayed to Bai Ye again. "Don't give up. I'll find someone to rescue you right away. Just hold on a little longer." Bai Ye quickly comforted the man and then continued to ask, "Do you know if there are other Huxia people here?" The man looked at Bai Ye deeply and then said, "There were 3 other people in the room where they locked me up at that time. I don't know how they are doing now." "Okay, just wait for rescue. I'll find someone to save you soon," Bai Ye said and quickly left the man's sight, then teleported out of the glass room. At this time, Li Yunxi also completed the task of lifting the alarm. Upon hearing this, Bai Ye immediately came to the glass tank containing several monster corpses, activated the giant force bang, and punched them a few times. Then there were a few crisp sounds of glass breaking, and the glass jar in front of Bai Ye turned into pieces. After getting the monster's body, Bai Ye sent the video he had just recorded to Li Yunxi. Then he told her about the situation in the underground laboratory again. "My lord, what do you want me to do?" After watching the video, Li Yunxi asked with a cold face, suppressing the anger in his heart. "First, hand over the video and the underground laboratory situation to the Haiqing police and ask them to send someone to rescue them immediately," Bai Ye said to Li Yunxi while looking for other rooms. But what if? When Li Yunxi heard Bai Ye's order, he couldn't help but worry that the Sakura people would destroy the evidence first after getting the news. After all, there must be some connection between them since the people of Sakura can enclose land here and build a research center. Bai Ye understood Li Yunxi's worries, so he said, "Don't worry, I will stay here until the police arrive." Li Yunxi didn't say anything after hearing this, and quickly sent the video and some photos taken by Bai Ye to the Haiqing police station. In order to attract the attention of the police as soon as possible, she also used some special methods. Haiqing Police Department. Xiao Su, who was on duty, suddenly saw all the computers around him light up at the same time. Then all computers quickly and automatically play the same video. And this video is exactly the one recorded by Bai Ye. "Kill me." Seeing the weak man in the video saying such explosive words, Xiao Su felt his scalp tingling. It's over. It feels like something big is going to happen. Sure enough, the following conversation made Xiao Su's eyes widen in shock and anger. It turned out to be an RT experiment. Xiao Su reacted quickly and took out his cell phone and started making a call. Not long after, a large number of police officers were awakened from their sleep and rushed to the police station in a hurry. In front of the police station, the Haiqing police chief, who was still wearing slippers, looked at everyone and waved his hand. Not long after, more than a dozen police cars roared out of the police station. At the same time, several armored vehicles drove out of the Haiqing armed police base at a high speed. "My lord, the police are rushing here at full speed. It will take about an hour for them to arrive here," Li Yunxi reported quickly while looking at the computer screen. "Okay, let number 1 and the others evacuate first. I'll wait here for them," Bai Ye replied. After ending the call, Bai Ye looked at the small ice storage in front of him with cold murderous intent in his eyes. In a small ice storage room of only 20 square meters, many sealed bags are neatly stacked. In these sealed bags, there are corpses of monsters and human body parts. In this underground laboratory, Bai Ye did not find any other living people. "I think the other 3 people the man just mentioned should all be here." Looking at the scene in front of him, Bai Ye had previously thought that Fangchen was too extreme towards Sakura country. But now I think about it, it seems that I was too kind. As expected, blood feud must be repaid with blood. Bai Ye muttered to himself as he looked at a woman's head in a sealed bag. After collecting the monster corpses in the ice storage, Bai Ye left and prepared to go to the last room that had not been explored. The last room looks like an office, probably the one for the person in charge of this laboratory. Bai Ye looked around and found a safe in a corner. It looks so advanced, it must be filled with some very important things. However, Bai Ye didn't know how to unlock the safe, so he just put the entire safe away. After collecting the safe, Bai Ye searched other places in the room. But after searching around, Bai Ye didn't find anything else valuable. Just as Bai Ye was about to leave, the desktop computer on the table caught his attention. After observation, Bai Ye found that this computer was not connected to the internet. But judging from the traces, this computer should be used frequently. This discovery made Bai Ye speculate that there might be some unspeakable secrets in this computer. So Bai Ye, who knew nothing about computers, decisively put the computer, its host, and all its accessories into the storage space. Then Bai Ye looked again and made sure that there was nothing else useful. Only then did Bai Ye leave the room with satisfaction. My lord, more than a dozen people are heading to the laboratory building. At this time, Li Yunxi's voice came from the headphones. Oh. As expected. Bai Ye sneered and quickly came to the end of the corridor. After some inspection, Bai Ye only found a passage leading to the ground, which was this elevator. In other words, if those people wanted to come down to destroy the evidence, they would definitely take this elevator down. Bai Ye stood next to the elevator, waiting for the people upstairs to come down. As the sound of the machine starting up came from the elevator, Bai Ye realized that someone was coming down. Bite. Soon, the sound of the elevator door opening was heard, and 6 or 7 Sakura people with disheveled clothes quickly walked out of the elevator. Hurry, hurry. We must destroy all the evidence before the police arrive. The middle-aged Sakura man in the lead shouted loudly. Upon hearing this, the others behind him quickened their pace and rushed towards the various rooms. At this moment, the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground came from behind them. The few people who were rushing in the front suddenly stopped and looked behind them. I saw a man covered in a black robe, whose face could not be seen clearly, standing in front of the elevator. At his feet lay a familiar figure, who was the colleague who came down with them. Who are you? The middle-aged man from Sakura country, who was in the lead, felt something was wrong and asked loudly. Bai Ye obviously didn't want to listen to them, and then his figure flashed and he rushed towards them in a flash. Quick! Stop him! Upon seeing this, the leader quickly gave orders to the people around him. But these people are all scientific researchers, and none of them are good at fighting. Soon, he was knocked to the ground by Bai Ye's punch. Seeing that Bai Ye had already rushed in front of him, the leader wanted to say something. But all he got was Bai Ye's fist. Soon, everyone who came down was knocked to the ground by Bai Ye and fell into a coma. Although Bai Ye wanted to beat them to death with one punch, his reason told him not to do so. These Sakura people do deserve to die, but Bai Ye cannot kill them. After all, this involves the bottom line of domestic laws and international relations. As long as they are alive, Bai Ye is an unsung hero. If they die, Bai Ye becomes a terrorist. After forcibly suppressing the murderous intent in his heart, Bai Ye kicked the Sakura countryman in front of him hard. Although I can't kill you, don't even think about living well. As he spoke, Bai Ye's cold eyes fell on their legs. Crack, crack. The sound of broken bones echoed in the corridor, making people shudder. After a while, a few more people came down the elevator. Bai Ye used the same method to make them all quiet down. Soon an hour passed, and Li Yunxi's voice came from the headset. My lord, the police are here. Notify me after they enter the lab building. Bai Ye glanced at the bastards on the ground and replied. Outside the gate of Yaki Biological Research Center, several Sakura people stood at the door, blocking the police cars outside. Non-Sakura citizens are prohibited from entering here. You have no right to come in and search. A Sakura countryman in a suit and tie stood at the door and shouted loudly. Bullshit. This is Dragon Country. Is there a place that dragon people can't enter? The police officer standing in the front and in charge of the conversation immediately started cursing. What's going on with this institute? Why does it have such an outrageous rule? Inside the police car, the chief yelled angrily at the people around him. I have only heard of this institute before, but I have not received any reports about it. As for whether other departments have such reports, we are not sure. The male police officer next to him also looked very unhappy when he heard this. Chief, I suspect they are stalling for time to destroy the evidence. We can't wait any longer. The criminal police captain sitting in the front row turned around and said anxiously. Damn it. Some of you go down and pull them apart. The rest of you just rush in. The director was also furious at this time and gave the order to break in by force. Regardless of whether the videos and photos are real or not, he will definitely be held accountable by his superiors after he arrives here today. Instead of standing here, it's better to rush in directly. If those videos and photos are real, then his merits outweigh his faults. After receiving the chief's order, several police officers quickly got out of the car. Ignoring the struggles of several Sakura people, they forcibly pulled them to the side of the road. Then 2 police cars drove side by side, pushed open the guardrail at the gate, and rushed in. Seeing this, the police cars behind also rushed into the research center. After entering the research center, everyone got off the bus quickly. Half of the people rushed straight to the laboratory building, while the other half dispersed. Master, they have entered the laboratory building. Li Yunxi quickly informed Bai Ye of the situation through surveillance. After hearing Li Yunxi's report, Bai Ye dragged a person from the ground and came to the elevator entrance. Then he used his ID card to open the elevator door. Bai Ye then threw the man into the elevator and pressed the button for the first floor. At this time, on the first floor of the experimental building above, a group of police officers were carefully searching the passage to the basement. Where will it be? The criminal police captain scratched his head anxiously and looked around. At this moment, a scream came from the toilet at the end of the corridor. Come here. There's an elevator. Hearing the shouting, people around immediately ran over. The toilet wall opened, revealing the elevator space inside. And in the elevator, there was an unconscious person lying. Drag him out. Everyone else follow me down, the criminal police captain ordered quickly. Soon the people in the elevator were dragged out, and the criminal police captain brought a few people and took the elevator to the underground laboratory. After exiting the elevator, they saw a dozen people lying on the ground. Upon seeing this, several police officers quickly drew their guns. Captain, the person is still alive. A police officer stepped forward to confirm. Call an ambulance, the criminal police captain said quickly. Captain, there is no signal here. A police officer took out his cell phone and found that there was no signal at all. Upon hearing this, the remaining few people took out their mobile phones, but also found that there was no signal. You take the elevator up and notify others to come and help, then contact an ambulance. The criminal police captain said to someone next to him. After receiving the order, the man walked into the elevator, which was still open, and went up. Quickly check the status of others, the criminal police captain ordered the remaining people. After a quick check, it was found that all the people on the ground still had vital signs, but their hands and feet were twisted into unreasonable angles. So cruel. So much strength. After checking the condition of everyone, all the police officers thought silently in their hearts. Take their access card and let's go in and take a look. The criminal police captain said after a moment of silence. As time went on, more and more police officers poured into the underground laboratory. The man on the laboratory bed and the body in the cold storage were also discovered one after another. How dare they? Inside the cold storage, a group of police officers looked at the large bodies packed in bags, and their hearts were filled with rage. The criminal police captain roared angrily with his eyes wide open. Outside the laboratory building, the director who just received the news was breathing heavily, trying his best to suppress the anger in his heart. Then he grabbed the assistant beside him with both hands and said coldly, "Notify everyone to arrest all the staff of the Yaki Biological Research Center. If they encounter strong resistance, you are allowed to shoot them." It's the director. The assistant saluted with a murderous look in his eyes. Soon, all the police officers knew that the Sakura people were using Huxia people to conduct RT experiments in the laboratory. At the same time, the task of arresting all staff was issued. So the police officers with murderous eyes and the armed police who had just arrived turned their attention to the staff of Sakura country. On a hidden path, a vehicle with its lights turned off and the engine shut down was parked quietly. As footsteps were heard, the people in the car quickly looked through the window. Yes, my lord. Number 1, who had the best night vision, was the first to spot Bai Ye. Soon Bai Ye got in the car and sat next to Li Yunxi. Let's drive, Bai Ye said to Li Tianjian. Upon hearing this, Li Tianjian quickly started the car and drove towards the dock according to the predetermined route. How's it going? Bai Ye noticed that Li Yunxi was still watching the surveillance at the research center, so he asked. The police are arresting the staff of the research center. Two of them wanted to resist and are already lying on the ground. Li Yunxi said with a happy smile on his face. It's really easy for them. They should all be beaten to death. Fang Chen clenched his fists tightly and said with murderous intent. Have you forgotten where we went this time? Bai Ye leaned back in his seat and said without turning his head. Yes. Hearing Bai Ye's reminder, Fang Chen's eyes instantly turned into excitement and his whole body became excited. Li Yunxi, can you find out the family members of those researchers and executives? Fang Chen hurriedly said to Li Yunxi. Yes, it just takes some time. Li Yunxi nodded when he heard it. We don't need so many people in the early stages of the experiment. Bai Ye couldn't help but remind them. Although Bai Ye did not object to Fang Chen's approach, the entire research center had at least 30 or 40 researchers and executives. That is to say, there are 30 or 40 families. If we just want to do the experiment, we don't need so many people. I don't want their wives and children, I only want their parents. After all, it is the father's fault if the son is not well educated. Fang Chen replied. After hearing Fang Chen's words, Bai Ye didn't say anything else. Soon Li Tianjian drove to the meeting pier. At this time on the pier, Lu Yan had already been waiting at the intersection. When he saw Li Tianjian driving over, he waved quickly. After getting off the car, Lu Yan brought Bai Ye and others to a cargo ship. The crew who had been waiting there for a long time quickly let them get on board. After boarding the boat, the crew brought Bai Ye and others into the cabin. On the way, Fang Chen began to introduce the captain of the ship to Bai Ye. The captain of the ship is my father's former classmate. He usually travels around the world transporting goods and occasionally helps people carry some things. This time my dad asked him for help, and he agreed without hesitation. Bai Ye and the others nodded slightly when they heard this, but the crew member leading the way in front immediately looked better. Soon the crew brought Bai Ye and others to where they were staying. This is where you live. Before you reach your destination, if you have nothing urgent to do, don't go on deck. If you need anything, I'll give you the intercom later. After arriving at the place, the crew told Bai Ye and others some precautions. Thanks for the reminder. After hearing this, Fang Chen on the side smiled and thanked. It's okay. The crew member nodded with a smile. After the crew left, Bai Ye and others found their own rooms and moved in. In less than a day, the news about the Yaqi Biological Research Center, in which Sakura people used Huxia people to conduct RT experiments, went viral on the internet. The last time this happened was during that humiliating period. That period of history left a painful and heavy impression on the Huxia people. And now, in the territory of Dragon Country, it is still the Sakura Country people doing RT experiments. It is still the Dragon Country people who are used. Every keyword can arouse the indignation of countless people. So once this matter was disclosed, it became a hot topic across the country and aroused countless discussions. At that time, Lingqi, skinning alive, and being torn apart by 5 horses were all light punishments. What's worse, some people even raised the banner of attacking Sakura. The higher-level officials also took this matter very seriously and set up a special task force to investigate. In front of Haicheng Police Station. I don't know where they got the news from, but people gathered here after knowing that the arrested Sakura Country researchers were in the police station. They surrounded the police station tightly, shouting for the police to hand over the murderer. Commissioner, what should we do now? The criminal police captain complained to the director with a worried look on his face. What to do? Leave it alone. The director spread his hands and said in a gloomy tone. God knows how much pressure he is under sitting here. There is an investigation by the special task force above and pressure from the masses below. From last night till now, he has not dared to relax at all. Damn. Where is the chief of the police station in Weihai Town? The chief looked up and said to the criminal police captain. After a day of investigation, it was found that the director of Weihai Town Police Station was one of the protectors of the Yaqi Biological Research Center. The police car that's arresting him is blocked outside and can't get in. The captain said helplessly. Damn it. I'm here working my A*** off, and he's just sitting outside watching the fun. The director cursed angrily. You called someone to give him 2 punches, damn. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Chief, this is not a good idea, the captain said hesitantly. What's wrong with that? It's not too much to beat him to death, the director asked with his eyes wide open. Okay. I would rather die than let my friend die. The captain could only mutter this in his mind. 5 days later, the cargo ship arrived in the waters near Shizuoka, the country of cherry blossoms. In order not to attract attention, Bai Ye and his group changed to a yacht that Feng Zhenhua had contacted in advance while at sea. After sailing for several days and nights, most people had already been bored by the narrow cabin. So as soon as they changed to the yacht, many people ran to the deck to breathe fresh air, even if it was salty air. The yacht stopped at a remote coast, lowered 2 kayaks, and brought Bai Ye and others to the shore. After landing, we walked a short distance to a road. It was exactly 11 o'clock in the evening, and there were no vehicles passing by on the road. How long will it take for the person you're contacting to arrive? After stretching his hands and feet, Bai Ye asked Feng Chen. It should be here soon. I just sent him the location. He should be here in about 5 minutes. Feng Chen replied after taking a look at his phone. 5 minutes later, 2 buses arrived. Can you delete the surveillance records on the car? Before getting in the car, Bai Ye asked Li Yunxi softly. I want to check the configuration of the surveillance on the bus. Li Yunxi said this while looking at the bus in front of him, then his fingers quickly tapped on the keyboard. After almost everyone was on the bus, Li Yunxi looked up and nodded slightly to Bai Ye. Soon the bus started moving, and its destination was the apartment that Bai Ye had rented in advance. There are 2 buildings in total, each with 20 separate apartments, each with an area of about 40 square meters. Since there are not enough rooms, Bai Ye plans to temporarily share a room with another person. Of course, it's not that Bai Ye is reluctant to spend more money to rent a few more houses. It's really because there is a shortage of houses here. Bai Ye also required that they must be connected, so it took a long time to find such a suitable place. Soon, through the private chat group set up by Li Yunxi, Bai Ye asked all members to find roommates on their own, with 2 people sharing a dormitory. After arriving at the apartment, Bai Ye got the key according to the landlord's instructions. Seeing that everyone looked tired, Bai Ye asked everyone to rest first. There was no conversation that night, and everyone slept soundly. The next morning, several members who could speak Japanese went out and bought breakfast for everyone. After breakfast, Bai Ye convened the first full staff meeting of the Shanghai organization. The meeting begins. Bai Ye motioned for everyone to make way for him, then took out 7 monster corpses from the Yaki Biological Research Center from the storage space. 5 in the laboratory and 2 in the freezer. Each of these monster corpses is larger than an adult brown bear. Even though they were all dead, the remaining pressure on their bodies still frightened the people present. This is the monster I told you about. It is also the target our organization will hunt down in the future. Bai Ye looked at everyone's expressions and spoke. This? Looking at the ferocious appearance of the monster, and then looking at their own bodies, many people had a lot of question marks in their minds. Bai Ye also saw the confusion among the crowd, so he continued, Of course I am not asking you to hunt monsters like this. Before that, I will first improve your overall strength until you can compete with them. Origin. Soon someone thought of the origin that Bai Ye had introduced before. Hearing these 2 words, the others reacted instantly. The next second, everyone looked at the monster's corpse without fear, but instead a hint of passion emerged in their eyes. Seeing that everyone finally reacted, Bai Ye didn't keep them in suspense and went straight to the point. I promised before that as long as Li Yunxi performed well in the previous operations, I would give her priority in allocating a portion of the monster origin. So among these 7 demon origins, one of them belongs to Li Yunxi. Is that okay with you guys? Bai Ye looked at everyone and asked in a tone that left no room for doubt. No. Everyone shook their heads upon hearing this. Are you kidding? You're using this tone. What can we object to? Bai Ye nodded with satisfaction upon seeing this. Li Yunxi and Li Tianjian, who were standing by, couldn't help but feel very excited when they heard this, and looked at Bai Ye with gratitude in their eyes. Then Bai Ye looked at Li Yunxi and said, I don't know what the abilities of these 7 monsters are. You can pick one yourself. Anyway, the key to treating Li Yunxi is the salamander origin, so you can just choose any monster origin. Li Yunxi looked at the 7 monster corpses in front of her. After looking back and forth, it finally fell on the most inconspicuous monster corpse among them. Compared to other monsters, this monster is smaller in size, has neither sharp claws nor hard scales. But its head is larger than its body size, and it has a vertical eye between its eyebrows. My lord, I choose this one. Li Yunxi decided to take a gamble and bet on his intuition. Following the direction of Li Yunxi's finger, Bai Ye looked towards the monster's corpse. Like Li Yunxi, Bai Ye also subconsciously felt that it should not be simple. Are you sure? Bai Ye confirmed to Li Yunxi. Sure. Li Yunxi nodded firmly. Good. Bai Ye then walked forward and came to the side of the monster. Use your right hand to activate the extraction skill on the monster's corpse. The next second, under everyone's incredulous gaze, strands of purple blood as thin as a hair floated out from the monster's corpse. Then it quickly gathered towards Bai Ye's right hand and finally condensed into a drop of dark purple liquid. Is this the origin? Wang Mo, who witnessed the whole process, stared at the dark purple liquid in Bai Ye's hand. Everything I thought about in my mind was unscientific, but I inexplicably developed an instinctive desire for it. This is the origin. As he spoke, Bai Ye put the origin in his hand into a glass bottle. Holding the glass bottle containing the origin, Bai Ye turned to look at Li Yunxi, but did not give the glass bottle to her directly. I don't know the self-healing ability of this monster, so I suggest you absorb another portion of salamander essence. Unexpectedly, Li Yunxi shook his head gently after hearing this. Master, my intuition tells me that as long as I absorb it, I will be reborn and my legs will naturally get better. Are you sure? Bai Ye doesn't have Li Yunxi's intuition, but still respects her choice. Sister, why don't we be safer? Li Tianjian said with some concern. I'm sure. Li Yunxi ignored Li Tianjian's words and nodded decisively. Well, I respect your choice. Seeing this, Bai Ye did not try to persuade her anymore and immediately handed the origin in his hand to Li Yunxi. Li Yunxi took the glass bottle containing the origin and held it tightly in his hand. If the meeting had not ended yet, she would have been eager to go back and absorb the essence. After collecting the corpses of the monsters whose essence had been extracted, Bai Ye turned his gaze to the crowd. Currently, there are 76 people in our organization. In order to have a clear division of labor and reasonable development, I plan to temporarily split into 4 departments. These 4 departments are named after the 4 sacred beasts of the Dragon Kingdom. White tigers are responsible for killing, so the White Tiger Division is mainly responsible for hunting monsters and attacking the enemies of the organization. The combat power of this division is very important, so I plan to divide 4 of the 6 monster essences into the White Tiger Division. As soon as Bai Ye finished speaking, the retired soldiers in the crowd became excited and began to gear up to compete for the 4 monster origins. Seeing the scene, Bai Ye didn't say anything, but nodded with satisfaction. Only competition can bring vitality and motivation to work hard. The White Tiger tribe is temporarily led by number 1. If someone's strength and leadership surpass that of number 1 in the future, I will allow you to challenge him and take his place. Bai Ye looked at everyone and encouraged them. Number 1 was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, "You are welcome to challenge me anytime." In the crowd, after hearing what number 1 said, Lin Feng and Li Tianjian looked at him with fighting spirit in their eyes. If the organization wants to develop smoothly, intelligence is extremely important. Therefore, the Suzaku department needs to be responsible for collecting various intelligence for the organization. I decided to let Li Yunxi take charge of this department. I believe many people know her computer skills. Bai Ye looked at Li Yunxi and nodded. Thank you for your favor, my lord. Yunxi will never let you down. Li Yunxi bowed slightly to Bai Ye. Next is the Azure Dragon Division. This department is responsible for studying various aspects of the application of monsters and origins, as well as their extension and development. I have decided to let Fangchen be in charge of the Azure Dragon Division. After saying that, Bai Ye looked at Fangchen in the crowd. Fangchen quickly assured him, "Don't worry, master. I will do my best to complete the task you assigned to me." Finally, there is the Xuanwu department. This department is mainly responsible for logistics issues. The organization's procurement, funding, medical care, etc. are all under the responsibility of the Xuanwu Department. This department is very important to the stability and development of the organization. Do you have anyone who is confident enough to take on this important task? Bai Ye, the head of the Xuanwu Department, thought about it for a long time but couldn't make a decision, so he simply let them choose for themselves. My lord, I am willing to give it a try. Young Ruowei in the crowd took the initiative to step forward and raised her hand to signal. Okay, then the Xuanwu tribe will be handed over to you. Seeing this, Bai Ye nodded in agreement. Young Ruowei, a traditional Wuxia medicine inheritor, her grandfather is a famous traditional Wuxia medicine expert in Longguo. My father even runs a large pharmaceutical group that is more than 10 times larger than Fang Zhenhua's. Okay. The organization is currently divided into these 4 departments. Now you can start choosing the department you want to join based on your strengths and expertise. After saying that, Bai Ye sat aside and let them choose freely. Hey, which department are you going to? I'm going to the White Tiger Division. Didn't you hear what the Lord said? The White Tiger Division's combat power is very important, so it's the easiest division to obtain the origin of monsters. I decided to join the Suzaku tribe. I used to be a scout. I can speak Japanese, so I decided to go to the Xuanwu department and be responsible for purchasing supplies. Among the 4 departments, the Qinglong department is the least controversial. After all, without the diamond drill, who would dare to touch the porcelain work? Half an hour later, the heads of the 4 departments handed their respective lists to Bai Ye. Bai Ye took a look and found that the White Tiger Division had the largest number of people, with a total of 37 people, followed by the Azure Dragon Division with 20 people, the Suzaku Division with 8 people, and the Black Tortoise Division with 10 people. After the departments were divided, everyone stood in line according to their respective departments. Bai Ye walked to the front with the list. Since you have all chosen your departments freely, from now on you can no longer change departments at will. Bai Ye shook the list in his hand and made this rule. Then, Bai Ye said again, I just said that 4 of the 6 monster origins will be allocated to the White Tiger tribe. As for these 4 places, I will let number 1 choose them. When the time comes, number 1 just needs to give me a list. Bai Ye looked at number 1 and gave the order. Yes, my lord. Number 1 nodded in response. At this time, the people from the White Tiger tribe behind number 1 all looked at number 1 with eager eyes. After all, whoever gets the monster's origin first will be 1 step ahead of others. Number 1 seemed to have already thought of a way to choose, and then turned his head to look at the people behind him. After the meeting, the White Tiger tribe will hold a fighting competition to select the 4 strongest people. These 4 people will obtain the essence of monsters and will be selected as team leaders. At that time, it will all depend on their own abilities. No one had any objection to the method of selecting number 1. After all, the White Tiger is responsible for killing and strength is paramount. If you are not as strong as others, you won't say anything afterwards. Looking at everyone's reactions, number 1 nodded with satisfaction. But at this moment he suddenly remembered something and quickly turned to look at Lu Yan and said, You are not allowed to participate. 4. When Lu Yan heard this, he was about to refute, but the people around him stared at him as if he were a dead man. 4. For the sake of fairness, I really can't participate. Under the death gaze of the crowd, Lu Yan retracted his head and spoke in a low voice. But with my ability, it shouldn't be a problem for me to be a team leader, right? Lu Yan came back to his senses and raised his head again and said. This time it was the turn of the people who had the hope of getting 4 places to be unwilling. If you have absorbed the essence of the monster, who would be willing to be an ordinary team member? Number 1 rubbed his brows helplessly, glanced at Lu Yan unhappily and said, Is it okay for you to be the deputy minister? Deputy minister? Hee. Not bad indeed. Upon hearing this, Lu Yan immediately showed an excited smile on his face. As for number 1's decision, the others also thought it was okay. After all, they have all seen Lu Yan's other form, and he is indeed capable enough to be the deputy minister. Thus, the selection plan for the White Tiger tribe was finalized. Sorry, my lord, I have kept you waiting for so long. After dealing with the department's affairs, Number 1 quickly apologized to Bai Ye and everyone else. It's okay, it's well arranged. Bai Ye waved his hand and praised him. Now 4 of the 6 portions of the monster origin have been divided up, and the people from the other 3 departments are looking at the remaining 2 with anticipation in their eyes. Of the remaining 2, one will be given to Yang Ruowei, the head of the Xuanwu division, and the other will be given to the Qinglong division. Whoever gets a breakthrough in research results first will be awarded the origin. Just like that, Bai Ye registered the remaining 2 monster origin titles. After the monster origin quota was announced, some were happy and some were sad. Those who haven't obtained the origin of the monster don't have to worry. When the people of the White Tiger tribe hunt down the monster, everyone will have a chance. Seeing that many people showed disappointed expressions, Bai Ye began to encourage them. My lord, can I make a small request? At this time, Yang Ruowei from the Xuanwu tribe stood up and spoke. You say? Bai Ye nodded after hearing this. After seeing Bai Ye agreed, Yang Ruowei said, I wonder if I can save my monster origin quota temporarily and give it priority when I hunt other monsters in the future. Hearing this, not only Bai Ye, but others also looked at Yang Ruowei with puzzled eyes. You have to know that one step ahead means every step. Others are thinking about how to be the first to obtain the origin of the monster, but you're going to give up the spot you have already obtained. This operation left everyone puzzled. Why? Bai Ye asked puzzledly. Yang Ruowei looked embarrassed and hesitated to speak. Just say it, Bai Ye said again. After receiving Bai Ye's encouragement, Yang Ruowei finally mustered up the courage to speak. These monsters look too ferocious. I'm afraid that after the fusion, they will become. Although Yang Ruowei stopped here, Bai Ye and others understood what she said next. In a word, it's too ugly. Perhaps the monster never imagined until its death that it would suffer such an insult after death. Although he didn't understand, Bai Ye still respected Yang Ruowei's choice. Are you sure you don't want to? Bai Ye asked for the last time. Yeah. Yang Ruowei nodded vigorously. She doesn't want to give it to me. Give it to me. Seeing that Yang Ruowei had really given up on the origin of the monster this time, the crowd, who had already been discouraged, immediately looked at Bai Ye with gleaming eyes. In that case, you can pick a member from the Xuanwu tribe to replace him, Bai Ye said after thinking about it. Yang Ruowei smiled and nodded, but was not in a hurry to confirm the spot. Okay, let's end this meeting here. Everyone else can go back first. The 4 ministers will stay for now. After Bai Ye finished speaking, the others left in an orderly manner, leaving only number 1 and others. Now let me tell you about the tasks of each department at this stage. Bai Ye took out 3 chairs and asked several people to sit down and then began to speak. First, the Suzaka tribe, Bai Ye said and looked at Li Yunxi. After you return, you will start monitoring the Sakura countries network. Once you find any traces of monsters, you will notify the White Tiger Division and cooperate with them to track and hunt monsters. Is there a problem? I need some computers and network facilities, Li Yunxi said. Leave this to the Xuanwu department. Bai Ye nodded in agreement. By the way, every time the White Tiger tribe takes action, remember to erase their traces, such as surveillance, online videos, etc. Bai Ye thought of something and continued. No problem. Li Yunxi nodded readily in response. Also, if you feel that you are too busy, you can recruit a computer expert you trust into the organization. Bai Ye was naturally very welcome to a computer expert like Li Yunxi. This time Li Yunxi did not reply, but began to think about whether there was a suitable candidate. Next, Bai Ye turned to look at number 1 and said, the main mission of the White Tiger tribe is to hunt monsters. I only have one request for you. Try to reduce casualties, even if you don't kill a single monster. Hearing this, number 1 nodded firmly and said, Understood, master. After looking at number 1, Bai Ye turned his gaze to Feng Chen. Due to current limited conditions, I plan to place the Qinglong department's laboratory in a medium-sized warehouse, approximately 1,000 square meters. It takes about 10 minutes to drive to where we live now. At that time, the first floor will be reserved for the White Tiger Division's daily training, and the second floor will be set up as a laboratory for you, the Blue Dragon Division. Feng Chen pondered for a moment and said, This crude laboratory can only be used temporarily. If it is used for a long time, it will delay our research progress. This question depends on you. Bai Ye stared at Fangchen and said, after the laboratory is set up, I will give you some essences of creatures with powerful self-healing abilities. If you can develop some therapeutic drugs based on this, the organization will not be short of money by then. Fang Chen's expression straightened when he heard this. He naturally understood the importance of this heavy responsibility, so he nodded solemnly and said, my Qinglong tribe will definitely do our best. After arranging the Qinglong division, Bai Ye turned his attention to Yang Ruowei. The tasks of the Xuanwu department are the most tedious and important. When the time comes, you will need to purchase what other departments need. I will transfer the organization's funds to you later. You need to plan your expenses reasonably. When the Qinglong division has achieved results in the future, the task of making money will also be assigned to the Xuanwu division. No problem, my lord. Yang Ruowei replied with a smile. Although these questions are cumbersome, they are actually not a big problem for Yang Ruowei, who has received elite education since childhood. Bai Ye then talked about some things about organizational development and ended the meeting completely. After Bai Ye left, Number 1 and others returned to their respective departments and began to prepare for work. On the rooftop. In order to have a spacious venue for free performance, Number 1 placed the competition venue on the rooftop. This competition is very simple. 4 people will defend the ring. If anyone else wants to challenge, they can do so. The winner keeps the title and the loser quits. Besides the person defending the challenge, everyone has only 2 chances to challenge. Be brief and keep it to the point. Friendship comes first. After looking at everyone, Number 1 immediately selected Lin Feng, Li Tianjian, Lu Daniu, and a strong man named Hong Tao as the first defenders. As Number 1 announced the start, except for Lin Feng, the other 3 were challenged. It seems that I have been underestimated. Li Tianjian couldn't help but think in his heart when he saw that the most people were challenging him. Li Tianjian practices ancient martial arts, so he is not a big guy, but a rather sturdy one. So compared to others, Li Tianjian looks the weakest. The one who challenged Li Tianjian was a 1.8-meter tall strong man. As Number 1 shouted start, the burly man rushed forward and punched Li Tianjian in the chest. Facing this punch, Li Tianjian simply stood still and allowed the strong man to rush forward quickly. Just when everyone thought Li Tianjian was going to give up, he grabbed the sturdy man's arm with one hand. With a pull and a bump, before anyone could see his moves clearly, the sturdy man was knocked 5 meters away and couldn't even get up. Seeing this, Number 1 quickly stepped forward to check the strong man's injuries and found that there was nothing serious except a little redness on his chest. So he stood up and announced that Li Tianjian had successfully defended the title. After 3 hours of defending the ring, the 4 team leaders of the White Tiger Division finally completed the selection. The captain of the first team is Lin Feng, the captain of the second team is Li Tianjian, the captain of the third team is Lu Daniu, and the captain of the fourth team is He Qianjun. As for these 4 team leaders, everyone else is convinced from the bottom of their hearts. Soon, Number 1 divided the remaining people into 4 teams, sorted out the roster, and then announced the disbandment. After the dissolution, many people were impressed by Li Tianjian's ancient martial arts and gathered around him to ask for advice. Okay, regarding my ancient martial arts skills, I will teach you one by one after we start training. If you are interested, you can follow me and learn. Li Tianjian did not hide his secrets and took the initiative to teach them his ancient martial arts skills. This couldn't help but arouse praise from many people. On the other side, Number 1 found Bai Ye with the list. After Bai Ye took the list and looked at it, he handed the 4 bottles of monster origin to Number 1. By the way, sir, we don't have any weapons. What should the other ordinary team members do? Number 1 asked after collecting the monster origin. Monsters with 1 or 2 lines are okay, but if it is a monster with 3 or more lines, ordinary people can't get close to it at all, let alone cause harm to it. I will deal with the weapons issue as soon as possible. You guys can train normally first. If monsters appear, you and Lu Yen can just lead a few team leaders there. Bai Ye replied. After hearing this, Number 1 nodded and then left with the origin of the monster. In the following week, the Shanghai organization experienced rapid development. First, the warehouse rented by Bai Ye, the first floor of which was converted into a training ground by the White Tiger tribe. Li Tianjian teaches ancient martial arts skills to members of the White Tiger tribe every day. On the second floor of the warehouse, after Bai Ye and Number 1 placed all the instruments here, the Qinglong tribe began to study monsters, origins, and the mysterious plants and scales that Bai Ye obtained from the space monster storage space. As for the Suzaku and Xuanwu divisions, they stayed in the apartment building to work. And under the leadership of Li Yunxi, the Suzaku division has roughly completed the real-time monitoring of the Sakura country network. As long as there is news about monsters on the internet, the Suzaku tribe will be able to intercept it in the first place. What is more worth mentioning is that after Li Yunxi absorbed the essence of the monster, not only did he gain a special third eye, he also awakened his telekinesis, and his legs were successfully restored to their original state. Seeing that the organization's development was on the right track, Bai Ye was ready to start his plan. In the evening, Bai Ye convened a meeting of the ministers of the 4 ministries. Starting tomorrow, I will be away for a while to get some equipment and funds. After I leave, you just need to continue with your development plans. If anything happens, you can always contact me. After saying that, Bai Ye glanced at the faces of several people. Don't worry, my lord. We won't let our guard down. Number 1 quickly assured. Master, where are you planning to purchase goods? Fong Qin asked. In the Middle East. There is war going on there right now, and if Bai Ye goes there and builds 2 arsenals, it will be enough for the Shanghai organization to use for a long time. Fong Chen's eyes lit up immediately after hearing this, and he excitedly suggested, Master, can you bring back some big guys by then? How old? Bai Ye looked at Fong Chen with a strange look and asked. Fong Chen spread his hands and gestured, and said excitedly, Is such a large rocket okay? Before Bai Ye could be shocked, Number 1 on the side was stunned first. Not a buddy? I'm afraid you are the head of the White Tiger tribe. No. You want to attack Tokyo? Bai Ye looked at Fong Chen in surprise and almost spit out curse words. Perhaps frightened by the gazes of several people, Fong Chen smiled awkwardly and withdrew his hand. Then he said softly, Won't the monsters become stronger in the future? I'm just being prepared. Oh, it's better to be prepared. Bai Ye was also so angry that he laughed when he heard this. Do you want me to steal 2 nuclear bombs for you? Bai Ye looked at Fong Chen unhappily. Well, it's not impossible. This is the country of cherry blossoms anyway. Fong Chen spread his hands and agreed. Puff. Hearing this, Li Yunxi and Yang Ruoe on the side couldn't help but laugh. Get lost. I'll tell you when I find you. Bai Ye couldn't help but laugh and scolded. Then, my lord, do you need me to buy you a ticket? At this time, Yang Ruoe remembered something and asked. No need, I can just get on the plane when the time comes. Bai Ye shook his head and explained. In the following time, Bai Ye and others discussed some issues about organizational development. The biggest dispute was between the Qinglong tribe and the Xuanwu tribe. The Qinglong tribe wanted more equipment and raw materials. However, the Xuanwu department rejected more than half of the purchase list on the grounds that they had no money. He also urged the Qinglong tribe to come up with research results as soon as possible so that they could start their money-making plan. The Qinglong tribe, on the other hand, claimed that the lack of experimental materials would delay the research time and asked the Xuanwu tribe to grit their teeth and hold on. The next morning, Bai Ye did not alarm anyone else and drove to the airport alone. On the rooftop of the apartment building, Number 1 and others watched Bai Ye leave without saying a word. It was not until Bai Ye's car disappeared from sight that the 4 of them turned around and went downstairs. Your Qinglong tribe had better come up with the experimental results as soon as possible. If we had money, the master would not take this risk. On the way downstairs, Yang Ruoe urged Fong Chen again. But this time Fong Chen did not refute. Instead, he looked forward with a serious expression and a firm gaze. I understand, Fong Chen said in a flat tone. Yang Ruoe looked at him in surprise, then said after a moment of silence, We can only provide half of what you want. Please go back and send me the list. Haha, you finally gave in. Just wait. I'll go back and send you the list right away. Hearing Yang Ruowei's words, Feng Chen jumped up excitedly. Before Yang Ruowei could react, Feng Chen rushed downstairs laughing. Feng Chen. Looking at Feng Chen's smug look, Yang Ruowei suddenly felt like her lungs were about to explode, and she yelled at Feng Chen's back. Behind them, Li Yunxi and Number One couldn't help laughing when they saw this. Then they looked at each other. Li Yunxi was the first to speak. I'll go back to monitor the network first. Well, notify us if there is any situation. Number One nodded and said. Li Yunxi nodded slightly, then followed Yang Ruowei downstairs and returned to the room. Number One went straight to the first floor, got in the car that had been waiting for him, and headed to the training ground. The master has gone up to prepare supplies for us, and we must also prepare the gifts before the master returns. Number One leaned against the car window, muttering to himself as he looked at the sun rising in the sky. Tokyo Airport. Since there were no flights to the Middle East from Shizuoka Airport, Bai Ye had to go to Tokyo Airport to catch a flight. After finding a secluded corner and storing the car in the storage space, Bai Ye walked to the airport. After entering the airport, Bai Ye first confirmed the flight time and flight information, and then found a seat to sit down and wait. Just as Bai Ye closed his eyes to rest, he suddenly heard a gentle voice from the cherry blossoms. Hello. Bai Ye opened his eyes upon hearing the sound and looked to his side. It turned out that a girl from the Sakura country sat down next to him without him noticing. What's up? Bai Ye turned his head and asked softly. Cool. Good looking. Seeing Bai Ye looking at her with cold eyes, Chiba Keiko felt as if her heart was hit and it was beating wildly. Just now, when they were across from each other, Chiba Keiko accidentally saw Bai Ye wearing a mask and a hat, resting with his eyes closed. After 2 rounds of absorbing the essence to strengthen himself, Bai Ye's appearance is not peerless, but it is also a rare school idol level. So just one glance, even though her face was covered by a mask, was enough to charm Chiba Keiko, who is obsessed with looks. Are you from Dragon Country? Hearing that Bai Ye was speaking Longwood dialect, Xianya Keiko was a little surprised and switched to Longwood dialect and asked. Bai Ye did not answer, but stared at her with a slightly frown. Sorry for disturbing your rest. Chiba Keiko thought that she disturbed Bai Ye's rest, which made Bai Ye unhappy. So he quickly stood up, bowed to Bai Ye and apologized. Looking at the cherry blossom girl who bowed deeply to him, Bai Ye's dissatisfaction also dissipated. If you meet someone who speaks Longwa in the future, please do not question his identity as a Longwa person. This is not polite. Bai Ye looked away and reminded in a cold tone. Why? Why? Chiba Keiko was about to ask why in Sakura language, but quickly switched to dragon language. Bai Ye didn't explain and just closed his eyes to rest. Seeing that Bai Ye didn't speak, Qianya Huizi didn't get discouraged, but continued to talk to herself. Are you planning to return to Dragon Country? I am also planning to travel to Dragon Country. I have heard that Dragon Country has many beautiful sights. By the way, what time does your flight arrive? Listening to Chiba Keiko chattering in his ear, Bai Ye turned his head and gave her a displeased look. Sorry, I disturbed you again. Seeing this, Chiba Keiko quickly stood up again and bowed to Bai Ye to apologize. Bai Ye. With this attitude and speed of apology, Bai Ye can be said to have witnessed the fine tradition of the land of Sakura. You said you were planning to travel to Dragon Country? Bai Ye asked after a moment of silence. Yes. I plan to go to Rongqing to see giant pandas. I heard there are a lot of giant pandas there. Chiba Keiko said excitedly. My advice is that you don't go to Dragon Country recently. Bai Ye thought for a moment and then reminded. Why? Isn't Dragon Country the safest country in the world? Why can't we go? Chiba Keiko asked with her head tilted slightly in confusion. Don't you make a travel plan before going abroad? Bai Ye continued to ask. I've made a travel guide. I plan to go see the giant pandas first, then try all the delicious food in Rongqing and then. Chiba Keiko counted on her fingers and sorted out her travel plans one by one. Bai Ye did not say anything when he saw this, but opened his phone and looked up the news from the Yaki Biological Research Center. Here, take a look at this and you'll understand. Bai Ye handed the phone to Chiba Keiko and said. Looking at the phone handed to her by Bai Ye, Chiba Keiko stopped what she was doing, took the phone and started looking at it. Yaki? Sakura Countryman? RT Experiment. Looking at the text and pictures on the phone, Chiba Keiko's face quickly turned pale, and her hands holding the phone began to tremble slightly. This. Chiba Keiko read the news again and again in disbelief, but the words between the lines revealed that this was a fact. If you still want to go to Dragon Country, be prepared to be looked at with strange eyes. Bai Ye took the phone, closed it, and put it back in his pocket. After giving the last reminder, he continued to close his eyes and rest. Beside him, Chiba Keiko stared blankly at her hands, unable to come back to her senses for a long time. When Bai Ye opened his eyes again, Chiba Keiko had left. As for whether Chiba Keiko finally went to Dragon Country, Bai Ye didn't care. Because the flight he was going to take started checking tickets. Of the 7 monster corpses obtained at the Yaki Biological Research Center last time, the magic crystals of 5 monster corpses are still there. These magic crystals were all 2-line magic crystals. Bai Ye absorbed 3 of them and gave the remaining 2 to Fangchen for research. After absorbing 3 2-line magic crystals, Bai Ye's space travel distance increased to 34 meters. After looking at the distance between himself and the plane, Bai Ye took out his cell phone and called Li Yunxi. Yunxi, help me block the surveillance. I'll be right there. Li Yunxi looked at the airport surveillance on the computer and pressed the button that had been prepared long ago. Okay. Soon Li Yunxi completed Bai Ye's task. Upon hearing this, Bai Ye looked around and found that no one was paying attention to this side, so he slowly squatted down and activated the space shuttle. Bon voyage. Looking at the figure disappearing from the surveillance camera, Li Yunxi silently wished. 2 days later, Bai Ye walked out from a corner of Damascus International Airport. After looking at the surrounding environment, Bai Ye couldn't help but complain. Tisk. Not as good as in Daxia. After leaving the airport, Bai Ye found a place to exchange currency. Then Bai Ye found a place and put the car out of the storage space. Before leaving Sakura Country, Li Yunxi sent the locations of several arsenals to Bai Ye in advance. And they also thoughtfully made a navigation for Bai Ye. Following the navigation instructions, Bai Ye drove for more than 2 hours and finally arrived at a small town that looked somewhat desolate. In order not to attract attention, Bai Ye parked the car outside the town and reclaimed the storage space. Bai Ye traveled through space and soon arrived at a tall building in the town. Standing here, Bai Ye could just see the arsenal that Li Yunxi mentioned. After observing for a while, Bai Ye found a secluded corner and began to rest. Although the armory's defenses were not very strict, Bai Ye was still at great risk of being exposed if he operated in broad daylight. So Bai Ye decided to take action at night. When Bai Ye woke up, it was already completely dark. Bai Ye took out his cell phone and saw that it was already 10:20 in the evening. Action! Bai Ye teleported downstairs silently and quickly moved towards the armory under the cover of night. Soon Bai Ye arrived at their outer defense line. After looking at the position of the sentry soldiers, Bai Ye immediately initiated space travel. Hey, we're changing shifts soon. How about going for a drink? No, who wants to drink with you? You're already drunk after just 1 glass. We've just started to warm our stomachs and you're already fast asleep. I was just too tired that day. I fell asleep while drinking. Yeah, I drank a glass of wine and fell asleep. Just as the 2 soldiers were standing guard and chatting, a figure flashed past them from the corner. Holy crap! So many! In the dark armory, under the dim light, Bai Ye looked at the full weapons boxes and swallowed silently. It's all mine. It's all mine. Without further ado, Bai Ye immediately started a large-scale purchasing mode. No matter what was inside, Bai Ye packed it all and put it into the storage space. This is. As he was collecting, Bai Ye suddenly found a large thing covered with camouflage cloth. Seeing this, Bai Ye immediately opened it and took a look. The next second, the thing inside made Bai Ye's eyes widen. An armored vehicle that can mount a gun. Looking at the land beast in front of him, Bai Ye wanted to get in the car and hold the steering wheel tightly. Take it away, take it away. Bai Ye quickly reached out and put it into the space. After filling up his own space, Bai Ye looked at the empty military warehouse and nodded with satisfaction. After checking the surveillance camera on the warehouse wall, Bai Ye took out his cell phone. Yunxi, thank you for your help. Bai Ye said to Li Yunxi on the phone. It's okay, they're just small things. Li Yunxi replied in a gentle tone. With Li Yunxi taking care of the follow-up, Bai Ye left here with peace of mind. Poor soldiers still standing guard outside, their own armory has been stolen, but they are still standing guard without knowing it. After leaving the armory, Bai Ye drove non-stop to the next armory. Desolate moonlight, desolate desert. A small pile of sand shook a few times without warning, and a figure crawled out from it. It seemed as if he saw a car coming from a distance, and the figure was staggering towards the road. At the same time, Bai Ye, who was driving with one hand out of boredom, suddenly saw a vague figure in the desert ahead. Bai Ye immediately perked up and squinted his eyes to look carefully. Looking at the limping gait and ragged clothes, Bai Ye's mind flashed through countless movie scenes. Could it be a zombie? No, this is a desert. Could it be a mummy? Bai Ye looked at the figure and muttered to himself. Just when Bai Ye's car was about to reach the figure plunged into the desert. Bai Ye stopped the car, opened the door, got out and walked towards where the figure fell. When Bai Ye got closer, he discovered that the person on the ground was actually a living person wearing a windbreaker. That is, you met me. If you met someone else, they might have saved you. Bai Ye did not come any closer. Instead, after taking a look, he turned and walked away while muttering to himself. Are you kidding? This is Syria. There is artillery fire everywhere. In such a dark night, in such a desolate desert, there appeared such a dying person. No matter how you look at it, there's something wrong with this person. Bai Ye just came to purchase some goods and didn't want to cause any trouble. Help, there's a monster. Just as Bai Ye was about to get on the bus, a faint voice came into his ears. Monster? Monster. Hearing this, Bai Ye, who was about to get in the car, was stunned. Then again, if I don't save him in the middle of the night, who will? Bai Ye turned around and went back to the man. He bent down, helped the man up, and dragged him to the road where he lay. After brushing the sand off the person's face, Bai Ye realized that this was actually a woman, and a beautiful one at that. But at this time, the woman on the ground had fallen into a coma. Looking at her chapped lips, Bai Ye took some salt from the storage space and mixed it with a bottle of salt water. Then he pried open the woman's lips and started to pour water into her little by little. Soon as the water flowed into the woman's mouth, she gradually regained a trace of consciousness and began to slowly swallow the salt water that Bai Ye had poured into her. Half an hour later, the unconscious Irina opened her eyes dazedly and looked at the night sky, thinking she was dreaming. You're awake? The operation was successful. You're a man now. At this moment, a mean male voice came from the side, which scared Irina so much that she came to her senses instantly and turned over away from where she was lying. No, you just woke up, so energetic? Bai Ye looked at Irina, who rolled on the ground for a few times and quickly got up and couldn't help but said in surprise. Hearing this, Irina regained consciousness and recalled what had just happened. Then he subconsciously licked his slightly wet lips. A bit salty. Wait, it's a bit salty. Suddenly realizing everything, Irina froze in place. I just stuck out my tongue and I don't know whether I should retract it. What kind of water did you feed me? Irina asked in a trembling voice, looking at Bai Ye. I don't have any other water here, so. Bai Ye put his hands in his pockets, looked up at the sky and stopped talking. Hearing Bai Ye's answer, Irina's hanging heart finally died. Looking at Bai Ye's handsome face, Irina's emotions surged. On one side is the grace of saving life, on the other side is... Oh, never mind, he's still a handsome guy after all. Irina finally sighed in her heart and let go of her grudge against Bai Ye. On the opposite side, Bai Ye noticed the change in Irina's eyes, loosened his fist in his pocket, and a beaming smile appeared on his face. You're quite sensible. Hey, are you still thirsty? Do you want to drink more? No. Irina was about to open her mouth to refuse decisively when a half-full bottle of water fell on her. Irina stopped talking, picked up the water on the ground, unscrewed it, and took a sip. Salty? Is this salt water? Irina suddenly reacted, looked at Bai Ye in surprise and asked. What else? What do you think it is? Bai Ye asked back with his hands in his pockets and a smile. At this point, Irina didn't understand that she was being tricked by Bai Ye. For a moment, I didn't know whether to laugh or be angry. After drinking a few gulps of water from the bottle, Irina looked at Bai Ye with satisfaction and gratitude. Thank you for saving my life. After I leave here, I will definitely thank you generously. Irina expressed her gratitude sincerely. Compared to the huge sum of money, I am quite interested in the monster you mentioned. Bai Ye didn't care about the huge amount of money Irina mentioned, but instead asked about the monster she mentioned before she fell into a coma. Hearing Bai Ye's words, Irina seemed to recall some horrifying memories. His face, which had just regained a little color, suddenly turned as pale as paper, and his whole body began to tremble slightly. The terrifying memory brought Irina back to the horrific scene 3 days ago. 3 days ago, Irina followed her father's caravan to this country for the first time to sell local specialties. On the night when the transaction was successfully completed, the buyer enthusiastically arranged a banquet to celebrate the successful transaction. Irina felt a little bored, so she took her guards for a drive. There were no problems along the way, but when the convoy turned back, a huge monster rushed out of the desert and pounced towards them. The body, which was tens of meters tall, completely blocked out the moonlight when it stood upright. It has a body like a death worm, a conical horn on its head, and thousands of feet like steel knives on its body. In just one encounter, more than half of Irina's guards were killed or injured. Thanks to the remaining guards' desperate efforts to stop them, Irina was able to drive away quickly. However, after killing the guards, the monster did not enjoy its dinner, but chased after Irina. In this way, You Chased Me and Irina relied on her superb driving skills to escape the monster's attacks several times. After getting rid of the monster, Irina was lost in the desert, and the vehicle was stuck in the sand because it had no gas. So Irina walked to find the way back until she met Bai Ye. Hey, are you okay? Seeing that Irina was almost fainting again, Bai Ye hurried forward and shook her shoulders and shouted, I'm busy, do you have anything to eat? Irina withdrew from the painful memories and smiled weakly at Bai Ye. Yes, I'll get it from the car, you stand here and wait for me. Bai Ye straightened Irina up and turned back to the car to get food. Soon Bai Ye came back with 2 loaves of bread and a bottle of water. That's all I have. Bai Ye handed the bread and water to Irina and said, Thanks. Irina took the bread and was eager to tear open the bag, but the more anxious she was, the harder it was to tear open. Don't worry, no one will snatch it from you. Bai Ye grabbed the bread, tore open the bag, and gave it back to Irina. Irina smiled awkwardly, took the bread and started eating it in big mouthfuls. Seeing this, Bai Ye unscrewed the water and handed it over. Soon Irina ate the 2 loaves of bread. After getting food, Irina finally regained some strength. Thanks. Thinking back to the way she ate just now, Irina said with shame after realizing it belatedly. It's okay, just tell me about the monsters. Bai Ye said with a smile. Irina calmed down and began to tell her story. Is it really dozens of meters high? Bai Ye confirmed excitedly. Irina looked at Bai Ye's expression with some doubt, but nodded. Although I didn't look closely, it should be at least more than 30 meters high. More than 30 meters. This size must be at least a 5-pattern monster, right? Bai Ye muttered to himself after hearing this. What 5-pattern monster? Irina listened to Bai Ye's words and asked quickly. A monster is the kind of monster you encounter, and the 5 patterns refer to its strength. Bai Ye explained softly. Do you know the monster I'm talking about? Oh no. Monster. Irina said in shock. Haven't you seen videos of various monsters attacking humans on your phone before? Bai Ye asked back. Before. Irina recalled what she had heard and soon remembered that she had indeed seen many videos of monsters attacking humans, as well as news and so on. But at that time, she lived in her own manor and was protected by a large number of bodyguards. She didn't have to worry about her own safety at all, so she didn't care. Are you saying that the monsters I encountered before are the same as the monsters in the videos on my phone? Are they all monsters? Irina said after she reacted. Right. Bai Ye nodded when he heard this and looked at Irina with admiration, as if she was a teachable child. Can we talk in the car? Irina stretched her legs, which were numb from standing, and suggested to Bai Ye in a resentful tone. Oh, sure. Bai Ye also reacted after hearing this, and then took Irina to the car. After getting in the car, Bai Ye started the car and asked Irina, "By the way, I don't know your name yet? You can call me Irina now. By the way, I still don't know your name, benefactor." Irina said with an embarrassed smile. "My name is Bai Ye. Are you from White Bear Country?" Bai Ye did not hide his name and told it directly to Irina. "Yes." Irina nodded in response. "I have to go somewhere now. You can follow me for now. I will take you to the airport tomorrow. How about that?" Having come this far, Bai Ye would naturally not be satisfied until he took the other arsenal. "No problem, I'll just follow you." Irina nodded in agreement. "By the way, before you leave, you have to tell me the location of the monster you encountered." Bai Ye suddenly turned around and said seriously, "You're going to go find it?" Irina looked at Bai Ye in disbelief and asked, "You don't have to worry about this, you just need to tell me." Bai Ye said calmly. "But how could Irina be willing to let Bai Ye face such a terrifying monster? You said you would repay me for saving your life." Bai Ye added, "I can give you a lot of money. House, car, girl. I can give you everything." Perhaps Bai Ye's words touched her emotions. Irina shouted loudly to Bai Ye in excitement. "Huh? Did you say something weird just now?" Bai Ye turned his head and looked at Irina in surprise and asked, "What? Am I not beautiful?" Irina raised her head confidently, reached out to lift her messy hair, revealing her elf-like beauty. Facing Irina's straightforward gaze, Bai Ye turned his head without saying anything. While he was thinking about how to persuade Irina to tell him the address where the monster appeared, suddenly a rustling sound, accompanied by a slight vibration, came from the desert, getting closer and closer to Bai Ye's vehicle. "It's coming! It's coming!" Hearing this noise, Irina's confidence collapsed instantly, and she curled up in the back seat and trembled in fear. "Looks like there's no need to look for it." Bai Ye looked into the depths of the desert, and his eyes quickly became gloomy. "I haven't looked for you yet, but you found me first." Bai Ye immediately stopped the car, quickly opened the back door, and pulled the trembling Irina out. Then he stuffed her into the cab. "Drive forward. Drive as fast as you can," Bai Ye said quickly after closing the car door. "But what are you going to do?" Irina grabbed Bai Ye's hand and said anxiously. "Bang." Bai Ye didn't hesitate at all and gave Irina a loud slap. "Are you sober? Just leave when I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Bai Ye said with a cold face. Perhaps she was awakened by Bai Ye's slap. After Irina looked at Bai Ye deeply, she accelerated the car and rushed forward. After Irina left, Bai Ye stood there and watched the monster's movements closely. After finding that it did not chase Irina as he expected, Bai Ye's eyes quickly became gloomy. "It's coming for me." From the moment he discovered the monster, Bai Ye had a premonition that the monster was coming for him. "Huh. This wave can be regarded as a two-way rush." Bai Ye sneered and took out a specially made broadsword from the storage space. This broadsword is similar in shape to a Mo Dao, but the handle is shorter. The blade is 4 fingers wide, the blade is about 1 meter and 60 long, and weighs more than 80 kilograms. After being strengthened many times by the monster essence and magic crystals, Bai Ye can pick up the sword with one hand even without activating the giant strength state. In the dark desert, as the rustling sound got closer, the ground shook more and more violently. Standing in the middle of the road, Bai Ye felt as if he was in the center of an earthquake zone. "Here it comes." Standing in the middle of the road, Bai Ye, who was on high alert, suddenly felt a dangerous aura nearby, and his heart suddenly tightened. Crack! At this moment, a cracking sound was heard from the ground, and Bai Ye looked down quickly. It was discovered that a large number of cracks quickly appeared on the cement road. It seemed as if some huge monster was about to break out of the ground. Underground. Bai Ye's pupils shrank when he saw this, and he quickly activated the space shuttle and teleported away from the spot. And at the moment when Bai Ye teleported and disappeared, a huge monster rose into the sky from the ground where Bai Ye had just stood. In an instant, gravel and yellow sand flew everywhere, and a huge figure appeared and disappeared in the dust. Although the dust obscured Bai Ye's vision, when the dark shadow covering the sky and the moon enveloped Bai Ye, The overwhelming feeling of oppression made Bai Ye feel as weak as an ant. Is this the five-patterned monster? Bai Ye looked at the huge monster in front of him with a serious look and silently changed from holding the knife with one hand to holding it with both hands. Seeing that the surprise attack was unsuccessful, the monster quickly retreated back into the ground. After the sand and dust settled, a bottomless pit appeared on the ground. Damn it. With a body this big, instead of fighting me head-on, you hide and attack me from behind. Bai Ye felt the ground shaking and couldn't help but curse inwardly. Recalling the huge black shadow just now, Bai Ye looked down at the long sword in his hand. Bai Ye originally thought that his knife was long enough, but compared to the size of the monster, the long knife in his hand looked more like a toothpick. There are still too few means of attack. Bai Ye sighed helplessly. Feeling the vibrations getting stronger, Bai Ye realized that the monster was coming again. Sure enough, the next second, the ground behind Bai Ye suddenly broke open. A huge figure pressed towards Bai Ye like a train. Bang! Seeing this, Bai Ye, who had been prepared, disappeared instantly, leaving the monster empty-handed again. But this time Bai Ye did not run away. Instead, he came behind the monster, activated his giant strength state, and slashed at the monster's body with all his strength. This knife is as fast as thunder and as powerful as 1,000 pounds. Although the monster's entire body was protected by thick leather armor, Bai Ye's sword still penetrated its body irresistibly. Feeling the pain, the monster quickly twisted its body, trying to throw Bai Ye out along with the knife stuck in its body. This was exactly what Bai Ye wanted. He then tightened the long sword in his hand, took advantage of the monster's body swinging, quickly pulled out the long sword, and teleported away. After the long sword in its body disappeared, the monster quickly retreated into the ground again and disappeared from Bai Ye's sight. But Bai Ye knew that the monster could not leave because his previous blow had angered it. The next game will be a real life and death game. Thinking back to the knife attack just now, Bai Ye frowned. Although the knife successfully caused a long wound on the monster, compared with its size, it was only a minor injury. No, if I rely solely on the knife in my hand, I'm afraid I won't be able to threaten its life even if I run out of energy. Bai Ye glanced at the knife in his hand, and then began to search in his storage space. At this time, Bai Ye's storage space was filled with various powerful thermal weapons. But the problem is that Bai Ye basically doesn't know how to use these weapons. And even if Bai Ye knew how to use them, he didn't have enough time to use them now because the monsters could rush out from underground at any time. Wait, this thing looks like it might work. At this time, Bai Ye found a silver-white metal box in the corner of the storage space. Inside, there are all kinds of poisons that Feng Qin has used before. Originally, Feng Qin was planning to destroy it, but Bai Ye felt it was a pity and put it into the storage space. There is no time to lose. Bai Ye aimed in a direction and teleported 5 times in a row, increasing the distance between him and the monster. Taking advantage of the gap when the monster was chasing him, Bai Ye quickly took out the silver metal box. Use a cloth bag to pack all the poisons together. Immediately afterwards, Bai Ye took out a box of grenades from the storage space. Bai Ye didn't know how to use the others, but he knew this one. After quickly taking out 2 grenades, Bai Ye put the box and the long knife back. Then Bai Ye stared at the ground, waiting for the best moment. Soon, feeling the vibration from the ground, Bai Ye knew that the monster was around him. How did this guy find my location so accurately underground? Bai Ye looked at the ground, feeling somewhat confused. You know, he stood there motionless, without making any noise. But the monsters underground seemed to be able to see him clearly, and they knew Bai Ye's exact location every time they launched a sneak attack. Is it the temperature? Bai Ye looked down at his body and couldn't help but have a guess in his mind. Crack! The familiar sound of shattering was heard again, and Bai Ye dodged it without a second thought. Sure enough, the next second, a huge figure suddenly rushed out from the ground from where Bai Ye was just now. However, what Bai Ye did not expect was that this time the monster did not shrink back into the ground, but turned around and pressed towards Bai Ye. The huge body crashed to the ground, splashing sand and gravel. This was the first time Bai Ye saw its full appearance. It is over 30 meters long, as huge as a heavily loaded train. On its head, there is a huge horn that looks like a drill, and also like a hard helmet which tightly wraps its head. And on the abdomen of its body, there are many legs that look like the Grim Reaper's scythe. Damn it. The 5-pattern monster has grown this big. What will happen if 8 and 9-pattern monsters appear in the future? Bai Ye cursed inwardly and quickly teleported to the distance. When the monster saw this, its legs under its belly moved rapidly and it rushed towards Bai Ye with the power of Mount Tai. Try the effect. Looking at the monster rushing towards him, Bai Ye quickly pulled out a grenade and threw it towards the open space in the distance. Bang! Soon the grenade exploded, emitting powerful heat. At this moment, the rushing monster paused for a moment, then quickly turned around and rushed towards the place where the grenade exploded. You guessed it right. There is no vision after all. Bai Ye's face suddenly showed excitement when he saw this.